Shalom Israel, Most High in Christ bless. My name is Brother Zerubbabel,
My name is Ezra Zalazar.
and we are with Children of Israel. And we are back once again on the Sabbath day to welcome you and wish you a blessed Sabbath day. Um, Back again to bring another milk lesson to the body of Israel. Um, Continuing on with what we began last Sabbath and the Sabbath before in somewhat dealing with marriage. So far, we've touched up on a little bit of, and dealing with like multiple wives. But as far as actually really just going in depth into marriage and all of that, we've kind of stayed away from it a little bit. Because there are a lot of people that are out there that are on here, especially in the Israelite community, that they spend a lot of time on marriage. In some cases, some of them spend too much time on it. And it seems like almost every week they're talking about something that has to do with marriage, which yeah, we understand. In order for us to build strong family unit, we need we need to teach our people these precepts that are in the Bible that show us how to go about picking a spouse, number one. Number two, once we have chosen that person, the steps in going about getting to know the person and starting to build that relationship, which is quite different biblically than what you would find in the world. The way the world has us going about it is completely contrary to what the Bible teaches, in which the world is mainly focused on lust of the flesh when it comes to dealing with, meeting a woman, meeting a man, and starting a relationship. The world is all about boyfriend, girlfriend, promiscuity. Um, the Bible is about marriage, plain and simple, quite different from one another. And so we're starting off with the basics. Before, we were talking about the men because we need to start with the men and what men need to do in order to find themselves a virtuous wife and what a virtuous wife actually is, because our men don't know what a virtuous woman is. They have no idea because it's not being taught in the churches, number one. Even though a lot of our people go to these Christian churches, these Christian denominations, they really are not learning the proper ways to go about beginning a relationship and building a marriage. Um, so that's where the Bible comes in. Everything we're going to talk about is going to come from the scriptures. Um, this time we're going to be dealing with the woman. What kind of man should you as an Israelite woman be looking for? So this lesson is titled Husbands, Love Your Wives and Be Not Bitter Against Them. All right. Again, husbands, love your wives and be not bitter against them. And in this lesson, we're going to be covering a whole lot of stuff, a whole lot dealing with what kind of man a woman should be looking for so that she does not find that type of man that will be bitter against her and treat her wrongly. So that's what this lesson essentially is about. How to go about finding the right kind of man that you can have in your life and settle down with for the rest of your life, that's going to treat you right. That's going to be a man worthy of you spending those quality years with. Because in the world, you're not being taught that. Unfortunately, the women today, the men today, you're views on relationships and marriage are basically shaped by media, what you hear on the radio, what you watch on TV, what you see in the movies, what you see on social media, and the internet in general. Um, and none of it is really teaching you how to go about finding the right kind of person. The music that our people listen to today is all about what? Promiscuity, all about sex, drugs, violence, drinking, having baby mamas, baby daddies. The lyrics are filled with all kinds of, I'll call it hatred towards our women, even hatred towards the men, calling our women B's and HOEs, all of this. And this is what is shaping our people's views about relationships and marriage. It's all about what a person looks like, what a person has. We're going to cover all of this in this lesson, in dealing with, what kind of man should you as an Israelite woman be looking for? Should you be looking for Pookie? Should you be looking for Ray Ray? Is that the kind of man that you should be looking for? Unfortunately, in today's society, that's exactly what they're telling you to look for. Why there's an agenda in the destruction of the so-called Black, Hispanic, Native American household. Everything in this society is put in front of us to destroy the family unit. Everything from the music, social media, TV, everything we've just named. It's not by accident, it's by design. And unfortunately, our people just dive in head first without even taking the time to stop and examine what it is that's being put in front of them. So it's up to us that claim that we are reading the Bible, that we're teaching the Bible, that we understand the Bible, and that we're living by the Bible. It's up for us in order to teach our people correctly. Now, you may look at this video and look at it, oh man, who are these guys? Because that's one of the problems. Our women love going to these Christian churches just because the pastor, got a nice hairdo. Beard is tight, if he even has one. In most Christian churches, right, the pastor won't even have a beard, which the Bible commands for our men to have a beard. And if they do have one, you see these men that, they're our age, whose beards should be gray, but somehow their beards are full black. Why? Because they're dyeing them, because they want to look young. They don't want to accept the fact that their head is, starting, their hairline is starting to move back. My hairline you could even see the line right here. And it's moved back, unfortunately. But that's growth, that's life, that's aging. We need to learn, be able to teach our men to embrace it. But society says that, it's a bad thing for a man to get older, to lose that youthful strength, to lose those youthful looks. Where there's nothing wrong with it. You need to learn to embrace it. At what point does a man need to stand up and be a man and stop acting like a child? Because, now they've got the man weave to go along with the women's hair weave. You could get anything done to your hair. I could go spend a few $100 and show up here next week and have a full locks in my hair if I want to, waves in my hair if I wanted to. Don't feel the need to do that. But there are a lot of these older men out there that still got this spirit upon them that they still want to look young, and still trying to, pull in, the young women and haven't grown up yet. And so society has allowed them a way to where, they basically are lying to you, no different than a man meeting a woman. You see this woman, she's got a nice long set of hair, makeup is done right, she's, looking fabulous. He goes, meets her, spends the night with her, and then in the morning he wakes up and her hair is hanging on the side of the bed. The makeup is off and he's looking at all the acne and scars and tattoos on her face and all kinds of, he's like, oh, wait a minute, hold on. And then all of a sudden he's got to go and she's wondering why he's not calling her back. It's because you essentially tricked him. You lied. You didn't show him the real you. And that's what today's dating scene is about. It's not about showing the person the real you. We've got to get back to God's commandments and doing it the way God told us to do it. And just being you, being yourself. Gray hairs and all. Because I can tell you that a lot of these older men that you see, these newscasters, these athletes, these movie stars, these men are getting these man weaves put on their head. You all of a sudden seeing them with all 4 sets of waves. They're getting dreadlocks, long braids. You know what I mean? No different than a woman. You could get a mohawk. You could get any kind of hairstyle you want. You could get it in a man weave now. If you don't believe it, go look it up on YouTube. They've got all kinds of videos of these barbers and these hairstylists that are putting these man units, as they call them, on these men. And you can't tell the difference. That's how good they are. But essentially, you're lying to the woman. You're deceiving her, making her believe that you're something that you're not. And then the same thing after a few months, when it's time for them to get that man weave taken off, and the woman sees that bald head, she starts to see, oh, wait a minute, that gray beard coming in. Because what are the women looking for nowadays? The so-called cougars. They're looking for these young dudes now. No different than the men. So we've got to teach our people the right way. Is basically what it comes down to. You've got to get back to desiring the sincere milk of this word. Let's start off with Hebrews 5 and 12 through 14 as usual.
The book of Hebrews, chapter 5 and verse 12. For when for the time ye ought to be teachers, ye have need that one teach you again, which be the first principles of the oracles of God, and are become such as have need of milk and not of strong meat. For everyone that useth milk is unskillful in the word of righteousness, for he is a babe. But strong meat belongeth to them that are of full age, even those who by reason of use have their senses exercised to discern both good and evil.
And that's the problem with our women today. They haven't exercised their senses. They do a lot of exercise in the gym nowadays, a lot of these women. You see them putting all kinds of videos on YouTube, on Instagram, and all these different social media platforms of them in the gym for hours working out, just like men. It almost seems like there's more women going to the gym now than men. You see more women out on the streets, jogging down the streets, running now than men. They're exercising their bodies, but they're not exercising their spirits. That to the point to where they cannot discern the difference between good and evil. They can't discern the difference between a good man and an evil man. And that's where we're coming in today. We're going to show you what the Bible says. The difference between finding yourself a good, faithful, godly man and finding a demonic, wicked, evil man. We're going to show you the difference out of the scriptures. So you got to ask yourself, what kind of man should you be looking for? What do you have to do to exercise your senses, women, for you to be able to discern the difference? Because right now you're failing. Right now our men are failing because they don't know. That's what our lesson last week and the Sabbath before had to do with men, to build them up and what kind of woman they should be looking for, what they need to do within themselves to change themselves so that they can attract the right kind of woman. And it's the same thing for you women. You have to look within yourselves and change something within yourselves so that you can attract the right kind of man and stop attracting the Pookies and Ray Rays. Stop going after the man with the foul mouth. Stop going after the man with the angry spirit. Now, I'm getting ahead of myself. We're going to cover all of this, all of the attributes that you should be looking for in a good, faithful, loving man, and the attributes you should be running away for in the demonic, wicked, evil man. We're going to cover all of it. All right. And there's some stuff we may not even cover. We're going to be covering a whole lot of it, though. All right. So in order for you to receive that blessing of the Most High, of finding that good, faithful, loving, godly man, you've got to desire the sincere milk of the word, and you've got to want to repent and change. We've got to teach our people to stop being afraid of that word, repentance. All it means is to change. But for some reason, people hear the words, you need to repent, and they go crazy over it. Like it's some magical voodoo spell or something you're trying to put on them. All right, let's go to 1 Peter 2:2.
The book of 1 Peter, chapter 2 and verse 2. As newborn babes, desire the sincere milk of the word, that ye may grow thereby.
Desire the sincere milk of the word, that you may grow thereby. So that you women can learn to look in the mirror. You can change yourself, change the person that you are, so that you can attract the right kind of person that's going to be a lifelong partner, a lifelong husband, and if Lord willing, a lifelong father, if you're blessed to have children. So in order for you to do that, you've got to look for a man that's willing to love his wife. You have to find the right kind of husband. Again, husbands, love your wives and be not bitter against them. All right. So the first thing before we get into the lesson, I just want to show you something real quick, because this is exactly the kind of man. And how can I put this? I'm going to show you why this is so important for you to find the right kind of man. I'll put it to you that way. It's very important for you to learn to discern between a godly, faithful, loving man and a wicked, demonic, ungodly man. It's imperative because it's life or death. Remember, the Lord said, keep my commandments and live. And a lot of our women are going into these relationships with these men and they don't have the spirit of discernment on them. And the reason why is because they don't desire the sincere milk of the word. They don't want to grow. They don't want to change. They like the way they are, and they like the way society has shaped them. All right. Society has taught you to be the kind of woman that God doesn't like. Society has taught our men to be the kind of man that God doesn't like. Everything that society has taught us is contrary to the word of God. But our people have embraced it. All right. So I'm going to share my screen real quick. This is a story. I'm going to just read it to you first before I give clarity on it, because I'm going to show you the bias also in America's news media. All right. Let me share screen. Yeah, let me know when you can see it. right. So can you see it?
No, it's coming.
It's not coming up.
There it is. Yeah, there it is.
Okay. All right. All right. So gonna read it first before I, give you the full background of what happened because you're gonna see the bias in the news media. All right. So man receives life sentence for strangling girlfriend to death. Christopher Scarborough. This is from Marietta, Georgia. A man in Cobb County was found guilty of fatally strangling his girlfriend to death while her children were in the home, the district attorney said. Christopher Gene Scarborough, 29, pleaded guilty to malice murder and cruelty to children in the third degree after prosecutors say he choked his then girlfriend, 24-year-old Ziana Graham, on August 23, 2018. Officials said Scarborough admitted early that morning he argued with Graham and physically attacked her by choking her. Prosecutors said she stopped breathing and Scarborough fled the scene while 4 children were in the home. One child allegedly said they heard the altercation saying things to her, and now he killed her during an interview with Safe Path Children's Advocacy Center. Prosecutors said Scarborough called the police anonymously for a wellness check, which he did trying to be slick, and officers eventually found Graham's body without a pulse lying in the bedroom, so they forgot part of the sentence. The medical examiner determined Graham's cause of death was asphyxia due to strangulation. At the time of the arrest, police said there were prior domestic violence cases at the home on Bonnydale Road in Marietta. Scarborough was arrested in Ackworth. Senior Assistant District Attorney Stephanie Green prosecuted this case. Domestic abusers are among the most heinous offenders, she said. They abuse, manipulate, and traumatize those who love them the most. For Ziana, the abuse turned lethal and left her 4 children motherless. I hope that this sentence and perhaps the timing of it, as we prepare to celebrate Mother's Day, will help her family and children begin to heal. Officials said Scarborough has remained in custody since his arrest the day of the crime, and by law will get credit for the time he has served. Now we're going to go to another channel doing the same story. Says a Cobb County man has been sentenced to life behind bars after pleading guilty to strangling and killing his girlfriend, a mother of 4, in August 2018. This is the Atlanta Journal, all right, Constitution. Christopher Gene Scarborough, now 29, of Marietta, admitted Wednesday to the murder of Ziana Graham, 24, according to Cobb County District Attorney Flynn D. Brody, Jr. Scarborough has been held in the Cobb County Adult Detention Center since his arrest the day of the crime, Brody said. Graham's 4 young children were in the apartment when Scarborough strangled her to death in a fit of rage, Brody said. In the early morning hours of August 23, 2018, Scarborough and Graham got into an argument. The Atlanta Journal-Constitution previously reported Scarborough put his hands around Graham's neck and strangled her until she stopped breathing, according to the DA's news release. He later made an anonymous call to Cobb police for a wellness check on Graham, leading the police to discover her body. Graham's cause of death was later determined to be asphyxiation due to strangulation. Domestic abusers are among the most heinous offenders. They abuse, manipulate, and traumatize them. Do you see the pattern here? It's the exact same story. It's almost like they just copied and pasted. It says for Ziana, the abuse turned lethal and left her 4 children motherless. I hope that this sentence and perhaps the timing of it, as we prepare to celebrate Mother's Day, will help her family and children begin to heal, Senior Assistant District Attorney Stephanie Green said. So that's another story. Now we're going to go to blackgirltragic.com. So now this is supposed to be a so-called pro-black, channel. This is the girl that got killed. This was Ziana Graham, 24-year-old mother of 4, strangled by boyfriend, Marietta police say. Ziana Graham was doing what she could. She attended classes at West Georgia Technical College to make something of herself and provide for her family. Graham, 24, was raising 4 of her children in suburban Atlanta with love and affection, but her live-in boyfriend was a hothead, police say. 27-year-old Christopher Gene Scarborough had several run-ins with authorities this year alone. On July 4, a warrant obtained by Atlanta TV station WXIA indicates he allegedly struck a man in the face. Months before that, on May 27, allegedly headbutted another woman. On Wednesday, August 22, 2018, law enforcement doing a welfare check on a home in Marietta, Georgia, found Graham unresponsive on the floor, according to media reports. At least one of the victim's children was reported to be in another part of the home at the time. The child told authorities they heard a loud commotion, according to WXIA TV. Police say they were called to a home on Bonnydale Drive for a welfare check just before 3:30 a.m. Wednesday. When they entered, police said they found a woman who had been strangled in an act of domestic violence. Detectives said Graham was allegedly strangled by her live-in Scarborough. He has been charged with multiple accounts, including homicide, murder, and aggravated assault. Our hearts and thoughts and prayers go out to everyone involved in this tragedy. Sorry. Marietta police spokesperson Chuck McPhillamy told local media outlets, if you're the one watching this and you know someone who may be in a situation that they shouldn't be, and that it could be an abusive situation that they shouldn't be, please, the life you could be saving could be theirs. On average, nearly 20 people per minute are physically abused by an intimate partner in the United States. During 1 year, this equates to more than 10 million women and men. 1 in 3 women and 1 in 4 men have been victims of some form of physical violence by an intimate partner within their lifetime. 1 in 4 women and 1 in 7 men have been victims of severe physical violence by an intimate partner in their lifetime. 1 in 7 women and 1 in 18 men have been stalked by an intimate partner during their lifetime, to the point in which they felt very fearful or believed that they or someone close to them would be harmed or killed. All right. So you can still hear me, right?
Yep.
Okay. So now, what do you notice about these 3 news stories that I went to? The unbiased reporting of this story. You can see right now I'm on YouTube. You can see I typed in Christopher Scarborough sentencing girlfriend's murder. You can't even find a news story on it. Why is this story being wiped clean from the news media? You got to ask yourself, what is going on? The stories that I read, the YouTube videos that I watched that told the real story about what happened are all gone. I can't find them. Just within this past week, I cannot find them. But thank the Most High that I did read it, that I watched the videos and got the story of what really happened. So now, first off, not victim blaming, because that's what happens in today's society when you tell the truth. All of a sudden, you're a victim blamer. You're blaming the victim. No, we're not. We're just going to tell you the truth of what really happened in this news story. So what happens is this young lady in high school found herself a boyfriend, according to stories that I read and the videos that I watched. She got pregnant. Her and the dude didn't work out. She left him. Baby daddy number 1. Met another guy. Jumped into a relationship with him. You know, having a good time. Gets pregnant. Baby daddy number 2. All right. Of course, what happens? Things don't work out. Doesn't work out. Okay. She breaks up with the guy, decides she wants to be on her own for a while. Let me work on myself. Goes to school. While she's in school, you know what I mean? She's going to try and, better herself, get a degree and what have you. and apparently meets a third guy. Same pattern again. Meets the dude, gets pregnant, relationship don't work out. They break up. Baby daddy number 3. So here she is, young mother, 3 kids, 3 different baby daddies, 3 kids, 3 different baby daddies. Or actually, the 4th kid was by the same dude. So the 3rd dude, they had 2 kids actually. I'm sorry, because she had 4 kids. So she had 2 kids with the 3rd guy. The relationship didn't work out. That's baby daddy number 3. So she had 4 kids, 3 different baby daddies. When the relationship didn't work out with this guy, again, I'm on a hiatus. I'm not dating. I'm not talking to nobody. I'm not having anything to do with anybody. She stayed that way for a short time where she was working on herself. She got a job working, doing kind of like light construction, home remodeling, working for a brother who was a contractor. He was a licensed contractor, hence Christopher Scarborough. He owned his own business, owned his own house, had things going for himself. He hires her to come and work for him. Sometime along the way, they develop feelings, get intimate. She moves in with him. They're in a full committed relationship. During the course of the relationship, she became pregnant, which would have been child number 5, baby daddy number 4. Sometime shortly during the pregnancy, she tells Christopher Scarborough that she lost the baby, that she had a miscarriage. He didn't think anything of it. He believed it. You know, give you the shoulder to cry on, boo hoo hoo. I'm here for you. You know, let's just, continue on with the relationship. Months later, he gets a Facebook message in his inbox from somebody putting her on blast. They never said who this person was, but telling him the truth of what happened. That no, she did not have a miscarriage. She went and got an abortion and didn't tell him. Yes, I saw the look on your face like, what? She went and got an abortion and did not tell him. So he goes home and confronts her about it. What's this? I hear you, what's up? She admits it to him. I don't want to be a mother again. I already got 4 kids with 3 different baby daddies, and I'm not having no other ones. I ain't having no 4th baby daddy with 5 kids. No, I'm not doing it. Got into the argument. He proceeds to choke her, and he killed her. And in no way am I condoning what he did. But like I said, the truth needs to be told, which obviously they are trying to hide in the news media. They're not telling the real story about what happened in this situation. That's why he was so, they're trying to make him out to be that he was just this brother, this monster that was just, you know what I mean? And he proceeded to kill her. The kids were in the house. They did hear it, as the news story said. He left the house. He called the police, told them to do a welfare check, just as the news story said. Like I said, he was trying to be slick. He wanted to make sure he gave himself some time to get out of town, which he did. But they caught up to him and they found him and they arrested him, which rightfully so. He needs to go to jail for what he did. But knowing the full context of what made this man so angry that he did what he did helps to understand the situation a lot better than what we got in the news story. So now, this is not victim blaming. This is pointing out the fact that no one had taught her. No one taught her what we're going to show you today, that she couldn't see the signs. She couldn't see the red flag. She couldn't see the pattern that she had developed in choosing the same kind of wrong men that left her a young mother of 4, which was almost 5, with almost 4 different baby daddies. Now, I'm looking at it from the point of view that this was probably a good brother, contrary to what they're trying to portray him as now after what he did, that he took her in with her 4 kids. And the fact that this man was that angry that she aborted his child tells you that if she would have just had the baby, he was willing to take the new child along with the 4 kids and take care of her and the 5 kids. She didn't need to go get the abortion. Unless, on the other hand, he was showing the pattern like the other men, that he was an abuser, that he was, all the things that they said he was, and she went and got the abortion. But if he was showing those signs, she should have left before she got pregnant. She should have been ungone. But again, that goes back to our women not being taught the sincere milk of the word and not desiring the sincere milk of the word, that they may grow thereby, so that they can grow in wisdom, knowledge, and understanding, and discern the difference between a godly, loving, faithful man and a wicked, demonic, evil man that is going to end up ending their lives in the manner that she and hers was ended. So that's where we're coming in with this lesson, to show you the difference between the kind of man an Israelite woman should be looking for and the kind of man you should be running for your life from. Because the kind of man that society keeps telling you to go to are those Pookie and Ray Rays that turn out to be the Christopher Scarboroughs, that if you push the buttons enough, they are going to end you. This is life and death. And unfortunately for her, it ended bad for her, real bad. If she had just, again, what does society say? It's a woman's body. It's a woman's right. If she wants to abort the baby, she can. The man ain't got no say so in it. So again, ladies, listen closely. You see, a lot of women are going to come across this video, look at us, be like, who are they to be trying to tell somebody about relationships?
Right.
Well, number one, both of us are very happily married men with very virtuous wives that we were blessed to be given in this life. So it would behoove you to listen, not to us, but to the precepts out of the scriptures that we are going to be bringing out, so that you can learn. Stop looking at the deliverer and listen to the delivery. Because if we were sitting up here, you know what I mean, in 3-piece suits with diamonds on, flashy, they would be flocking to the channel.
Right.
But the message is no less powerful coming from us than if it was coming from, what's his name, Creflo Dollar, who is not going to teach you this. Creflo Dollar is not going to teach you what we're about to teach you out of the scriptures. Creflo Dollar is going to tell you can sin all you want to do because even keeping the 10 Commandments is sin. And if that's what you want to learn, yeah, you better go to his channel. All right. So, husbands, love your wives and be not bitter against them, such as we saw with what? Christopher Scarborough. He could have just left. He could, at that point, he could have just, you know what? You killed my child. Get out of my house. You got to go. He could have handled it a different way. He handled it the wrong way. Husbands, love your wives and be not bitter against them. So we're going to go to the book of Proverbs. Let's get this on the road. What kind of man should you be looking for? Listen closely to these precepts. Proverbs 20:6.
The book of Proverbs, chapter 20 and verse 6. And it says, most men will proclaim everyone his own goodness, but a faithful man who can find.
But a faithful man who can find. But a faithful man who can find. Remember, we opened up last week. But a virtuous woman who can find. Remember, we opened up with that last week. We were talking about the men with the women. We told you this week, we're going to go through, we're going to talk about the men this time. What kind of man should you be looking for? Who can find a faithful man? Women, ask yourself the question. Can you find a faithful man? Who can find that? Just like for you men, who can find a virtuous woman? You'll find out. Just listen to the precepts and it will become clear to you. Let's go to Proverbs 28 and 20.
Book of Proverbs, chapter 28 and verse 20. A faithful man shall abound with blessing, but he that maketh haste to be rich shall not be innocent.
A faithful man shall abound with blessings. A faithful man shall abound with blessings. But he that maketh haste to be rich shall not be innocent. Stop looking for that dude that's out there that all he's thinking about is trying to get rich. There's something wrong with that kind of person that all they think about is money is what runs them. And they will do anything to get money. That man that will lie, cheat, steal, kill in order to be rich. The Lord says he's not going to be innocent. And he's not going to be a faithful man. A faithful man shall abound with blessings, because when he's faithful to the Most High is going to bless him with the things that he needs in his life. But society says you got to aspire to be rich. You've got to aspire to be a billionaire. Let me know. I know you're getting over this cold. Let me know if you need me to read sometimes, so that way you don't dry your throat out.
Okay.
But again, a faithful man shall abound with blessings, but he that maketh haste to be rich shall not be innocent. Let's go to the book of Psalms, chapter 12. We're going to read verses 1 through 8.
The book of Psalms, chapter 12, and verse 1. Help, Lord, for the goodly man ceaseth. Help, Lord, for the goodly man ceaseth. Oh, okay. Help, Lord, for the godly man ceaseth, for the faithful fail from among the children of men.
So it says, help, Lord, for the godly man ceaseth. You can't find the godly man anymore. It's bad for you women out there. It's hard to discern between the godly man and the ungodly man. says, for the faithful fell from among the children of men. The godly, faithful man is almost non-existent nowadays. That's what he's telling us. Read.
They speak vanity, everyone with his neighbor, with flattering lips and with a double heart do they speak. The Lord shall cut off all the flattering lips and the tongue that speaketh proud things. Who have said, with our tongue will we prevail? Our lips are our own. Who is Lord over us? For the possession of the poor, for the
For the
sing,
oppression of the poor.
for the oppression of the Lord of hold on, for the oppression of the poor, for the
Sign,
sighing,
the sign.
the sighing of the needy. Now will I raise, saith the
Will I
Lord.
arise? Now will I arise?
Now will I arise, saith the Lord. I will set him in safety from him that puffeth at him. The words of the Lord are pure words,
Says the
as
words of the Lord are pure words. Read.
as silver tried in the furnace of earth, purified 7 times. Thou shalt keep them, O Lord, thou shalt preserve them from this generation forever. The wicked walk on every side when the vilest
The
men are
vilest.
exalted. The
So it
vilest
says
men are exalted.
the wicked walk on every side when the vilest men are exalted. And that's exactly what happens in today's society. The wicked are walking in every direction. They're walking in every way possible, opposite of what God told us to walk. When the vilest men are exalted, go and look at what's going on in society. The vilest men are being exalted. Look at the Donald Trumps. Look at the Joe Bidens. Look at among our people. Look at all of the so-called movie stars, these actors, actresses, these athletes that are exhausted or that are exalted in society. These are the vilest among our people. What are they all turning? I'm disappointed to see that a lot of these people that we watched growing up as children, growing up as young adults, and these TV shows and these movies, and finding out what kind of drug addicts they are, or they are and were, alcoholics they were and are, gangbangers, shooters, killers. Hearing about how many of these men have laid down and slept with some of the same women. It's crazy. Go and look at some of these female rappers, some of these female R&B singers, some of these female actresses, and look at the history of the men that they laid down with and that they messed around with. You will find that a lot of these women got around to a lot of these different rappers and a lot of these different R&B singers. They got passed around. It's crazy. But these men are the ones that are exalted in society, and these are the men, these Pookies and Ray Rays, walking around with their pants sagging, foul mouths, that our women are being taught to chase after. Let's go to Luke 12 and 35 through 48.
The book of Luke, chapter 12, and verse 35. Let your loins be girded about, and your lights burning, and ye yourselves like unto men that wait for their Lord.
And ye yourselves like unto men that wait for their Lord. You men, if you need to become that man, you women, you need to be looking for that kind of man, that his purpose in life is to wait upon the Lord. Read.
me a second. Okay. Um, when he will return from the wedding, that when he cometh and knocketh, they may open unto him immediately.
Go ahead.
Blessed are those servants whom the
Blessed,
Lord,
blessed are those servants. Read.
whom whom the Lord, when he cometh, shall find watching. Verily I say unto you, that he shall gird himself and make them to sit down to meat, and will come forth and serve them.
Read on.
And if he shall come in the second watch, or come in the third watch, and find them so, blessed are those servants.
So when Christ comes back and he finds us, our people, doing what they're supposed to, doing what he asked us to do, and we're watching, we're doing what we're supposed to, he's saying, blessed are those servants. Go ahead.
And this know, that if the good man of the house had known what hour the thief will come, he would have watched, and not have suffered his house to be broken through.
So if he had been paying attention, he had done his security checks, he would have known what time that, this person was going to come. He wouldn't have allowed his house to get broken in. He would have been on watch. Go ahead.
Be ye therefore ready also, for the Son of Man cometh at an hour when ye think not.
So you got to be prepared also, women. You've got to prepare yourself just like us men. We need to be prepared for that day when Christ comes back, because he's going to come at a time when you least expect it. Because a lot of our women nowadays, they say, oh, I'm going to go have my fun years. I'm going to go have my fun time. They use other words now, more derogatory terms for it now, where they're going to take these years, this time to be out having a good time, being out at the bars, looking for a certain type of man that they could go home and have a good time with. You're wasting your life. You're wasting time. But they don't see it that way until they're 36, 37, 38, almost 40 years old. And they start to realize, like, wait a minute, I don't have a husband. What happened? Life has passed me by. And now I'm going to end up an old woman alone. Now they're starting to panic. That's what you see going on. This is what's happening. But you're not preparing yourself for that day of the Lord. So when the Lord comes back and he sees you in this condition and you're not prepared, are you going to get the kingdom because you've been out there being promiscuous? You've been out there breaking the commandments of the Most High? He says, be ye therefore ready also, for the Son of Man cometh at an hour when you think not. Go ahead and read.
Then Peter said unto him, Lord, speakest thou this parable unto us, or even to all? And the Lord said, who then is that faithful and wise steward?
Who then is that faithful and wise steward? Women, that's the kind of man you should be looking for. That faithful and wise steward. That man that's going to be doing the work of the Lord. Read.
Whom his Lord shall make ruler over his household, to give them their portion of meat in the due season. Blessed is that servant, who his Lord, when he cometh, shall find so doing.
Blessed is that servant, whom his Lord, when he cometh, shall find so doing. And that's what you should be looking for. You should be looking for that servant of the Lord that's doing the Lord's business, that if the Lord were to come back right now, the Lord's going to say, you know what, blessed is that servant, because he was doing exactly what I told him to do. Go ahead, read.
Of a truth, I say unto you, that he will make him ruler over all that he hath.
That he will make him ruler over all that he hath. See, you're worried about getting a man that's got riches and glory in this life. What about finding that kind of man that's going to get riches and glory in the life to come? Go ahead and read.
But if that servant say in his heart, my Lord delayeth his coming, and shall begin to beat the men servants and maid servants, and to eat and drink, and to be drunken. The Lord of that servant will come in a day when he looketh not for him, and at an hour when he is not aware, and will cut him in sunder, and will appoint him his portion with the unbelievers.
And will appoint him his portion with the unbelievers. You better be looking for that man that's a believer. You better be looking for that brother that's a believer in this word. Go ahead.
And that servant which knew his Lord's will, and prepared not himself, neither did according to his will, shall be beaten with many stripes.
So that's what's going to be coming to that man if he knows what the Lord's will is, but he doesn't do it, doesn't prepare himself. You better stay away from that man. Go ahead.
But he that knew not, and did commit things worthy of stripes, shall be beaten with a few stripes. For unto whosoever much is given, of him shall be much required, and to whom men have committed much, of him they will ask the more.
So that's what you should be looking at. That man that's given a little bit of responsibilities, and he takes that little bit of responsibility and runs with it and does exactly what he's supposed to. That's what you should be looking for. That faithful servant of the Lord that is given much responsibility, and he commits himself to it and he does it. That's what you should be looking for. You should be even asking more so of him, expecting more of that kind of. That's the kind of man you could put high expectations on. You can't put no high expectations on Pookie and Ray Ray, and I'm going to keep using those names.
Right.
You can't put much expectations on them, because Pookie and Ray Ray, when the going gets tough, they're going to jet. They're going to be gone. They're going to leave. They're not going to stand by your side. You need to look for that faithful steward of the Lord. Let's go to Luke 16 and 1 through 13. You'll get an understanding of where we're going with this.
The book of Luke, chapter 16 and verse 1. He said also unto his disciples, there was a certain rich man, which had a steward, and the same was accused unto him that he had wasted his goods. And he called him and said unto him, how is it that I hear this of thee? Give an account of thy stewardship, for thou mayest be no longer steward. Then the steward said with himself, what shall I do? For my Lord taketh away from me the stewardship. I cannot dig to be to beg. I am ashamed. I am resolved what to do, that when I am put out of the stewardship, they may receive me into their house. So he called every one of his Lord's debtors unto him, and said unto the first, how much owest thou unto my Lord? And he said, 100 measures of oil. And he said unto him, take thy bill, and sit down quickly, and write 50. Then said he to another, and how much owest thou? And he said, 100 measures of wheat. And he said unto him, take thy bill, and write 80. And the Lord commended the unjust steward, because he had done wisely. For the children of this world are in their generations wiser than the children of light. And I say unto you, make to yourself friends of the mammon of unrighteousness, that when ye fail, they may receive you into everlasting habitations. He that is faithful in that which is least is faithful also in much. And he that is unjust in the least is unjust also in much.
So that goes to what I was just saying a second ago. He that is faithful in that which is least is faithful also in much. When you can depend on the man to do those little things, then you know you can depend on him when the big things come, when the big situations arise. Why would you put your faith in a man that doesn't have any faith in the Most High? Why would you do that? Go ahead and read.
If therefore ye have not been faithful in the unrighteousness mammon, who will commit to your trust the true riches?
If therefore ye have not been faithful in the unrighteous mammon, who will commit to your trust the true riches? Why would you trust this kind of man? If the Lord can't trust him, why would you trust him? Go ahead.
And if ye have not been faithful in that which is another's man's, who shall give you that which is your own?
And if you have not been faithful in that which is another man's, who shall give you that which is your own? Look at that whoremongering, adulterous man, quick to want to go and lay down and sleep with another man's woman. Why would the Lord give him a good woman if he can't even be faithful to that which is another man's? To bypass another man's woman and be like, hey, you know what? She's taken. I'll go find me another woman. He can't be trusted. So why would the Lord give him his own virtuous wife if he can't be found faithful in that which belongs to another man? Go ahead and read.
Verse 14, right? No, 13.
13.
No servant can serve two masters, for either he will hate the one and love the other, or else he will hold to the one and despise the other. He cannot serve God and mammon.
So let's go to another parable of the Lord's. Let's go to Luke 19 and 11 through 27. So these are leading somewhere. Just giving you a little bit. These parables could be interpreted in many different ways for many different situations. So we're going to go through another one.
The book of Luke, chapter 19 and verse 11. And it says, and as they heard these things, he added and spake a parable, because he was nigh to Jerusalem, and because they thought that the kingdom of God should immediately appear. He said, therefore, a certain noble went into a far country to receive for himself a kingdom and to return. And he called his 10 servants and delivered them 10 pounds and said unto them, occupy till I come. But his citizens hated him and sent a message after him, saying, we will not have this man to reign over us.
We will not have this man to reign over us. Watch out for that brother that don't believe in Christ. That's that antichrist man that's adamant that he don't want Jesus to reign over him. Go ahead.
And it came to pass that when he was returned, having received the kingdom, then he commanded these servants to be called unto him, to whom he had given the money, that he might know how much every man had gained by trading. They came the first, saying, Lord, thy pound had gained 10 pounds. And he said unto him, well, thou good servant, because thou hast been faithful in every little, have thou authority over 10 cities.
Because thou hast been faithful in very little, have thou authority over 10 cities. So the Lord sees, okay, I could trust him. Gave him a little bit, and he put the work in. So he rewarded him. Go ahead.
And the second came, saying, Lord, thy pound had gained 5 pounds. And he said likewise to him, Be thou also over 5 cities. And another came, saying, Lord, behold, here is thy pound, which I have kept laid up in a napkin. For I fear thee, because thou art an austere man,
I'll steer men.
austere man. Thou takest up that thou layest not down, and reapest that thou didst not sow. And he said unto him, Out, out of thy own mouth will I judge thee, thou wicked servant. Thou knowest that I was an uncertain man, taking up that I laid not down, and reaping that I did not sow. Wherefore then gavest thou thy money into the bank, that at my coming I might have required my own with usury.
So it would have gained interest. He just held on to it. Go ahead.
And he said unto them that stood by, Take from him the pound, and give it to him that had 10 pounds.
So what is the gist of this, ladies, is watch out for that scary brother, the one that's afraid to take a chance, that's afraid to put his foot out there and take a risk at getting that new job. You know what I mean? Trying to get that promotion or just getting a job, period, working. Well, we're going to cover all this in this lesson. But that's what it's talking about. Stop, don't, you need to look for that attribute in some men that some men have. Some men have it, some men don't. Some men don't have that spirit of fear in them, that they're willing to take those risks. They're willing to go out there and put it on the line so that they can take care of their families. And there are some men out there who are just scary. Life itself is scary to them. They don't know how to deal with life. They don't know how to cope with life. Keeping and maintaining a job to them is scary. It's hard to do. And being faithful in anything is hard to do. They lack that discipline. They lack that drive. They lack that dedication to accomplish anything in their lives. And that's what this brother is. He was too scared to act. So he just held on to it. But what happens to him? Go ahead and read.
And they said unto him, Lord, he had 10 pounds. For I say unto you, that unto every one which had shall be given, and from him that hath not, even that he had shall be taken away from him. But those mine enemies, which will not that I should reign over them, bring them hither, and slay them before me.
And slay them before me. So you got to open your eyes, ladies. Are the men that you're looking for faithful stewards of the Lord? Or are the men that you're looking for the Pookie and Ray Rays of the world? Let's go to 2 Timothy. Actually, I'm sorry, 1 Corinthians chapter 4 and verses 1 through 2.
The book of 1 Corinthians chapter 4 and verse 1. Let a man so account of us as of the ministers of Christ and stewards of the mysteries of God.
Let a man so account of us as of the ministers of Christ. That goes for him, that goes for me, that goes for all our brothers out there on the streets teaching, all of our Israelite men, you so-called Black, Hispanic, and Native American men. You all should be accounted of as the ministers of Christ and stewards of the mysteries of God. But what is it? Read.
Moreover, it is required in stewards that a man be found faithful.
That a man be found what?
Faithful.
That a man be found faithful. Moreover, it is required in stewards that a man be found faithful. If you haven't got the gist of where we're going with this yet, ladies, pay attention. This is giving you the first clue of what kind of man you should be looking for.
Mm-hmm.
Let's go to 2 Timothy 2 and 1 through 2.
Okay. Let's see. The book of Second Timothy, chapter 2, and verse 1. It says, "Thou therefore, my son, be strong in the grace that is in Christ Jesus. And the things that thou hast heard of me among many witnesses, the same commit thou to faithful men, who shall be able to teach others also."
The same commit thou to faithful men who shall be able to teach others also. You need to be looking for yourself a faithful steward of the Lord who's going to put in the work for the Lord, who is going to teach others also, who's faithful to this work. Stop looking for the Pookies and the Ray Rays. Let's go to Sirach 36:16. Like I said, listen to the precepts. Don't mind us. We're just giving you the precepts. We're just bringing it to you. This is the word of the Most High. Listen to God. Listen to the Most High. Let God be true and every man a liar.
Right. The book of Sirach, Ecclesiasticus, chapter 36 and verse 16. "Reward them that wait for thee, and let thy prophets be found faithful."
And let thy prophets be found faithful. So I know you may be asking, what does any of this have to do with what kind of husband a woman should be looking for? Again, be patient. It's all going to become real clear. It's going to be real clear by the time we get done with this lesson, and you will be able to discern the difference between a godly, loving, faithful steward of the Lord and a wicked, demonic, ungodly, unbelieving, unjust, I could go on and on, unrighteous man of the world. You're going to be able to tell the difference after this lesson. Let's go to the book of Sirach, chapter 44, and I'm going to read verses 1 through 22. Because now we're going to just go over a little bit about some of our forefathers. Because you should be looking for the same kind of men that our forefathers were. And in order to know what kind of men you should be looking for today, you need to know what kind of men our forefathers were. Because you're not going to learn this in the churches. They're not going to tell you. They tell you don't even read the Old Testament. Don't even worry about knowing about those men of old. All right. Go ahead when you're ready. I'm going to stop you in there, okay?
Okay. The book of Ecclesiasticus, chapter 44 and verse 1. "Let us now praise famous men and our fathers that begat us."
Let us now praise famous men and our fathers that begot us. This ain't talking about no LeBron Jameses.
Right.
Not talking about no Tyler Perry's. Not talking about no Michael Jordans. No, I don't know, football players. Not talking about Michael Jackson. Not talking about Prince. Not talking about Usher. Who else? Chris Brown. None of these men. Let us now praise famous men and our fathers that begot us. You got to get these men out of your mind as being what the world has put in front of you as the most eligible men and the kind of man you should aspire of having. The 50 Cents, the Drakes. Let us now praise famous men and our fathers that begot us. Read on.
"The Lord hath wrought great glory by them through his great power from the beginning." such as did bear rule in their kingdoms, men renowned for their power, giving counsel by their understanding and declaring prophecies.
Men renowned for their power, giving counsel by their understanding, and declaring prophecies. Read.
Leaders of the people by their counsel,
Leaders of the
and
people by their counsels. Read.
and by their knowledge of the learning meet for the people.
Meaning their
Wise,
knowledge and learning was good for the people. Read.
wise and eloquent in their instructions.
Wise and eloquent are their instructions. So again, this is giving you a good idea of what kind of men our forefathers were. And this is the kind of men you should be looking for. You should be looking for those men that are renowned for their power, giving counsel by their understanding, that are declaring prophecies, that are leaders of the people by their counsels, and by their knowledge of learning meet for the people. Wise and eloquent are their instructions. That's what you should be looking for. Go ahead and read.
Such as found out musical tunes and recite verses in writing.
Such as found out musical tunes and recited verses in writing. Now, should you be looking for those Ushers of the world, those Chris Browns of the world? Or should you be looking at the men that were more like, well, King David had his issues.
Mm-hmm.
But when it comes to music, though, more like King David, or more like Solomon when it came to reciting verses in writing. Go ahead and read.
Rich men furnished with ability, living peacefully in their habitations.
Rich men furnished with ability, living peaceably in their habitations. It's not talking about the ability of being able to dunk no basketball, being able to catch or run no football, or tackle another man. It's not talking about that, or getting in the boxing ring and being able to pummel somebody with some boxing gloves. It's not talking about that. Go ahead.
All these were honored in their generations and were the glory of their times.
And were the glory of their times. You see, at this point in time, the people of our people that were honored, the ones that were, looked at with admiration, were our forefathers that were teaching this Bible. But somehow now today, things have flipped. It's the person that's running down the track, the person that's hitting the baseball, dunking the basketball, catching, running the football, standing on the stage with his pants sagging down, grabbing his crotch and rapping, talking about shoot 'em up, kill 'em up, calling our women B's and HOEs. Those are the men that are being honored in this generation. But our women need to be taught how to go back to honor those men of former generations and look for our men today that are likewise of the men of those generations of old. Go ahead and read.
There be of them that have left a name behind them, that their praises might be reported.
There be of them that have left a name behind them, that their praises might be reported. It's going to name some of these brothers later on. It's going to name some of our forefathers. Go ahead.
And some there be which have no memorial, who are perished as though they had never been.
And some there be which have no memorial, who are perished as though they had never been. Nobody even knows who they are. Go ahead.
And are become as though they had never been born, and their children after them.
So do you want to look for that kind of brother? He hasn't done anything in his life for anything or anybody that his name is going to be remembered. Go ahead.
But these were merciful men whose righteousness had not been forgotten.
But these were merciful men. So again, what kind of man should you be looking for? A merciful man. whose righteousness has not been forgotten. You need to be looking for a merciful, righteous man. Go ahead and read.
With their seed shall continually remain a good inheritance, and their children are with the covenant,
Or
within the
in the
covenant.
covenant. Go ahead.
Their seed standeth fast, and their children for their sakes. Their seed shall remain forever, and their glory shall not be blotted out.
Their seed is talking about their children, and their glory shall not be blotted out. Go ahead.
Peace, but their name liveth forevermore.
Their bodies are buried in peace.
Their bodies are buried in peace, but their name liveth forevermore. The people will tell of their wisdom, and the congregation will show forth their praise.
So when people talk about these brothers, they're going to be talking about what? The wisdom that they had. They're going to be praising them. Go ahead.
Enoch pleased the Lord and was translated, being an example of repentance to all generations.
So one of them is Enoch. He was an example of repentance to all generations. So you should be looking for a brother that's like our forefather Enoch. Go ahead.
Noah was found perfect and righteous.
Noah was found perfect and righteous. So you need to find a brother that's like Noah, who's perfect and righteous. Go ahead.
In the time of wrath, he was taken in exchange for the world. Therefore was he left as a remnant unto the earth when the flood came. An everlasting covenant was made with him, that all flesh should perish no more by the flood. Abraham was a great father of many people.
Abraham was a great father of many people. So you need to look for a brother that's like Abraham, that's going to be a great father in the event that he's given children, because Abraham wasn't given children till way later on in life. Go ahead.
In glory was there none like unto him,
In glory there was none like unto him. Read.
who kept the law of the Most High,
Who did what?
who kept the law of the Most High,
You better be looking for a brother like Abraham who keeps the law of the Most High. Go ahead.
and was in covenant with him.
Uh-huh.
He established the covenant in his flesh, and when he was proved, he was found faithful.
He was found what?
Faithful.
And when he was proved, he was found faithful. You better find yourself a brother that when he is proved by the Most High, he is found faithful, just like Abraham. Go ahead and read.
Therefore, he assured him by an oath that he would bless the nations in his seed, and that he would multiply him as the dust of the earth, and exalt his seed as the stars, and cause them to inherit from sea to sea, and from the river unto the utmost part of the land. With Isaac did
Isaac
he
is another one. Go ahead.
with Isaac did he establish likewise for Abraham his father's sake the blessing of all men and the covenant, and made it rest upon the head of Jacob.
So you
He
got
acknowledged
Abraham, you got Isaac, you got Jacob. Go ahead.
he acknowledged him in his blessing, and gave him an inheritance, and
And gave
divided
him a
him
what?
an inheritance.
And gave him an heritage. So with Jacob, he acknowledged him in his blessing, the blessing that he had promised to Isaac, the blessing he promised to Abraham, and he gave him a heritage. Read.
And divided his portions among the 12 tribes did he part them.
And divided his portions among the 12 tribes did he part them. Amongst the 12 patriarchs, the 12 forefathers of our 12 tribes. It's right here in the scriptures, ladies. The kind of men you should be looking for. We're going to go through some more of our forefathers. Let's go to Sirach 48 and 22 through 25. There's more.
The book of Ecclesiasticus, chapter 48 and verse 22. Is this: for Hezekiah had done the thing that pleased the Lord, and was strong in the ways of David his father, as Isaiah the prophet, who was great and faithful in his vision, had commanded him. In his time, the sun went backward, and he lengthened the king's life. He saw by an excellent spirit what should come to pass at the last, and he comforted them that mourn in Zion. He showed what should come to pass forever, and secret thing or everyday came.
So what did he do? He did things that pleased the Lord, and he was strong in the ways of David, his father. He was what? He was great and faithful in his vision. Great and faithful in his vision. You should be looking for a man that is great and is faithful in his vision. Well, what does the scripture say? Where there's no vision, the people perish.
Mm-hmm.
You need a man that has a vision. He has a goal in life. All right. It says he had an excellent spirit. He comforted those that mourned in Zion. So you need somebody that also could be a comforter to you. You see, again, you can read these precepts, but do you really see them? Do you really hear them? Because they're speaking to you, women, and telling you what kind of men you should be looking for. Let's go to 1 Maccabees chapter 2 and verses 50 through 61.
The book of 1 Maccabees, chapter 2 and verse 50. And it says, now therefore, my sons, be ye zealous for the law.
So, I'm sorry. So real quick, this is Mattathias, who was telling his 5 sons. He was giving them what? He was giving them counsel. And he's telling them, starting at verse 50, now therefore, my sons. Go ahead.
Now therefore, my sons, be ye zealous of the law.
So be ye zealous for the law, read.
And give your lives for the covenant of your fathers.
So again, what kind of man should you be looking for? You should be looking for the kind of man that is just like the sons of Mattathias, and like Mattathias, where he was giving his sons counsel that they need to be zealous for the law. So what kind of man should you be looking for? A man that's zealous for the law. A man that's willing to give his life for the covenant of our forefathers. Read.
Call to remembrance what acts of our fathers did in their times.
It says call to remembrance, telling us to remember what acts our fathers did in their time. Go ahead.
So shall ye receive great honor and an everlasting name. Was not Abraham found faithful in temptation?
Was not Abraham found faithful in temptation? So again, sisters, you need to be looking for that man who's like Abraham, who will be found faithful in temptation. That when temptation comes to him, he's not going to be quick to give in to his fleshly lusts. Go ahead.
And it was imputed unto him for righteousness. Joseph, in the time of his distress, kept the commandments and was made Lord of Egypt.
So when Joseph, what happened? Remember, the Pharaoh's wife tried to come on to Joseph, and he turned her down. In that time of temptation, he kept the commandments of the Most High God. He did not commit adultery with that man's wife. which means that the king of Egypt had full trust in Joseph, and Joseph proved why he had full trust in him by keeping the commandments of the Most High. So what kind of man should you be looking for? You should be looking for the kind of man that's like our forefather Joseph. Because you got to remember, Joseph was is described in the scriptures as being very handsome, having, you know, these eyes that women just went crazy for. So when I read it, I'm thinking of, okay, like a brother that looks maybe like if people remember, like your Lamarck Allen from not Lamarck, that was a dude I went to high school with, because he looked just like Marcus Allen. He was a couple of years older than I was, and was one of our running backs before I got up to varsity. But Marcus Allen, that played for the Raiders, that's why I'm getting them mixed up, because he looked just like Marcus Allen and his name happened to be Lamarck Allen. Or as I get getting them mixed up, I apologize. But if you think of Joseph, that's what you're thinking of. What's the newscaster that he just got fired? He and the woman he was messing around with, they were both cheating on their spouses and they were having a relationship. I can't remember his name, but you know, he's got the hazel green eyes. But that kind of brother, that's what Joseph is described as. You know, just having these eyes that, you know, that women just went crazy for. You're not going to read that in the scriptures. You got to read the book of Jasher to find that out. The book that some of these men tell you not to read, you find out a lot more about our forefathers reading these books. All right. But Joseph was the kind of dude that you could understand why the Pharaoh's wife was throwing herself at him the way she was. She was really trying to get at him bad. She wanted him in the worst way. And him being the kind of man he was, I'm sure he could have had any woman he wanted, including her. But he kept to the commandments and he stayed faithful to the word of the Lord, even during that time of temptation. That's the kind of man you should be looking for, that no matter how bad he is, no matter, and I'm talking about in his looks, that, you know, women will just fall over for him, that he can still maintain his discipline and his humility and humbleness and stay faithful to you, his wife. Joseph wasn't married. He was a young single dude at the time. Although he did get married later on and had Ephraim and Manasseh, which you read about in Jasher. You can read a lot more about Ephraim and Manasseh in the book of Jasher.
Right.
Let's go ahead and continue on. I just wanted to stress that because our women are quick to choose these Pookie and Ray Rays. Be like, oh, you know what? He looked good though. So there's nothing wrong with finding that handsome man. But if you do find one that's like our forefather Joseph. That no matter how much muscle he got, no matter how beautiful his eyes are, how, you know, chiseled his chin is, no matter how confident he is, that when it comes down to it, that he's going to be a brother that's going to show humbleness, going to show humility, that's going to be able to restrain himself and show restraint and faithful in the time of temptation. That is not going to jeopardize your relationship for a night of fun.
Right.
All right, let's go ahead and continue on.
Phinehas, our father, in being zealous and fervent, obtained the covenant of an everlasting priesthood.
You know what? Let me stop right there. Okay, it just popped in my head. I'm sorry.
All right.
Let me do this. I'm gonna see if I can find, because most people nowadays, they probably don't even know who Marcus Allen is. So I'm just gonna give a show real quick what I was talking about because present. It popped in my head. We were getting ready to move on. I'm sorry, but let me go back to that real quick. Let me know when you can see this.
It's up.
All right. So when you see these pictures right here, some of these celebrity brothers, this is what you can imagine Joseph looking like. This is what Joseph is described as looking as, like one of these brothers right here. I don't know why they have, isn't that Willow, whatever her name is? But when you read the scriptures and you think about how Joseph is described exactly like one of these brothers right here that you would see. That, you know what I mean, got the chisel chin, the light eyes, you know what I mean, everything, you know, that they describe him in the scriptures. Make you Terrence Howard, yeah, that's one that I didn't think about. I don't know who, I can't remember his name. I know he's played in some movies, but some of these other dudes, I don't know. I remember him, Jesse Williams, from something he's played in, but this is the kind of, you know, just so you get an idea of what Joseph is described as looking like. So when we're saying that, you know what, no matter how handsome this brother is, no matter how many women are falling over him, he's going to maintain that faithfulness to you. And he's not going to go out and commit wedlock. That's the kind of man you should be looking for. All right. So let's go back to Phineas now.
Phineas, our father, in being zealous.
Oh, wait. Let me stop right there. Quick. Hold on. Because it just popped in my head too. Again, and sisters, this goes to you too. That the same discipline that you're looking for in your man, that no matter how broke down looking your man is, out of shape, not as handsome, that if one of these brothers come up to you and is trying to take you from your man, that you give him the same respect also, that you will have enough discipline and respect and courtesy and love and faithfulness to your man that you won't give in to it. We also got to make sure we throw that in there too, because there are some of these brothers out there that, you know that, you know, they got what the women are looking for. And some of them will take advantage of it. And they have no qualms about going up and messing with another man's woman and saying, hey, look, you know, why are you with him when you can have me? And some of these women will fall for it. So just want to throw it out there. Got to be balanced in this. All right, let's go ahead.
Right. Phineas, our father, in being zealous and fervent, obtained the covenant of an everlasting priesthood.
So like Phineas, you need to find a man that's zealous and fervent in this covenant. Go ahead.
Jesus, for fulfilling the word, was made a judge in Israel.
We need to find somebody that was like Jesus is talking about Joshua. We need to find somebody like Joshua who fulfills the word of the Most High. All right, let's go on.
Caleb or Caleb.
Caleb.
Even Caleb for bearing witness before the congregation received the heritage of the land.
So we need to look for somebody that's like Caleb, you ladies, you Israelite women. Go ahead.
David, for being merciful, possessed the throne of an everlasting kingdom.
Now, David, on the other hand, his question was because King David was one of these brothers that looked like one of these brothers that, you know, You couldn't trust David around your woman. I'm sorry. That's just the truth of the matter. You know, with King David, you know, we got to put the truth out there with him that David,
Right.
you know, you really couldn't trust him, you know, around your lady. So we will have to leave him out of this one for now. Go ahead.
Elias, for being zealous and fervent for the law, was taken up into heaven.
So for being Elias, for being zealous and fervent, also the same thing we saw for Phineas, the same description, but he was zealous and fervent for the law. Go ahead.
Ananias, Zacharias, and Misael, by believing, were saved out of the flame.
You got to find that brother like these three. That is what? Believing. Stay away from those non-believing men. Go ahead.
Daniel, for his innocency, was delivered from the mouth of lions.
Go ahead.
And thus consider ye throughout all ages that none that put their trust in him shall be overcome.
So you need to look for that brother that what? Has put his trust into the Most High. And again, let me say it again. Keep in mind that not all our forefathers were faithful husbands. All right. Gonna put it out there. Not all of them, like King David, like I said, with him, you know, kind of questionable to have, you know, put him on that list, even though that he, you know, he was forgiven for what he did by the Most High. The Most High loved King David, even though King David messed up. He messed up big time. But in the gist of what we're talking about, you don't want to find one of our brothers that have that spirit of King David on him. All right. That is willing to commit murder in order to steal another man's wife. You don't want that, sisters. You don't want to be looking for that type of man. All right. Who else? Let's go on. Let's go to 2 Maccabees chapter 1 and verse 1 through 6.
Maccabees. The book of 2 Maccabees, chapter 1 and verse 1. The brethren, the Jews that be at Jerusalem and the land of Judah, which unto the brethren, the Jews that are throughout Egypt, health and peace. God be gracious unto you, and remember his covenant that he made with Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, his faithful servants.
His faithful what?
Servants.
So you men of the Lord, you so-called Black, Hispanic, and Native American men, you are the servants of the Lord. The question is, are you going to be a faithful servant of the Lord? The question is, you ladies, are you going to look for those men that are faithful servants of the Lord like Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob? Or are you going to be looking for the Pookie and Ray Rays? Go ahead.
And give you all in heart to serve him and to do his will with a good courage and willing mind. And open your heart in his law and commandments and send you peace.
So he's saying, and give you all in heart to serve him. Are you going to look for that brother that's willing to serve the Lord and to do his will? Are you going to look for the brother that's willing to do the will of the Lord? With a good courage, are you going to look for that man that has good courage and what? A willing mind and what? And open your hearts in his law and commandments. Are you going to look for that brother that's willing to serve, willing to do his will, that has good courage, that has a willing mind, that has an open heart in the law and commandments? Go ahead and read.
And hear your prayers and be at one with you and never forsake you in time of trouble. And now we be here praying for you.
That's what we're doing. We're here praying for you ladies right now, that you know what? I pray that they can repent. They could take a look in the mirror, You know what I mean? See what kind of Israelite woman that they need to be in order to find the kind of husband that we're showing them right now. And believe the Lord will bless you with them. But you got to start with you first, ladies. Let's go to 2nd Ezra chapter 15 and verses 1 through 4.
The book of 2nd Ezra, chapter 15 and verse 1. Behold, speak thou in the ears of my people the words of prophecy, which I will put in thy mouth, saith the Lord, and cause them to be written in paper, for they are faithful and true. Fear not the imaginations against thee. Let not the incredulity of the trouble thee that speak against thee. For all the unfaithful shall die in their unfaithfulness.
It says, for all the unfaithful shall die in their unfaithfulness. So if the Lord were to come back right now, is he going to find you unfaithful, ladies? Because how do you expect to find a faithful man if you yourself are living unfaithful? Does that make sense? Lord's will, it makes sense. It should be crystal clear. It should make perfect sense. You need to be looking for what? The first attribute a woman should be looking for in a husband is one that is faithful to the Lord. One who is also faithful to the commandments and the laws. Let me say it again. The first attribute you Israelite women should be looking for in a husband is one that is faithful to the Lord. One who is also faithful to the commandments and the law. I'll put it to you this way. If a man cannot be faithful in these things, how can he be faithful to his wife?
Right.
Let me say it again. If a man can't be faithful to the Most High and to the laws and commandments, how is he going to be faithful to his wife? You got to ask yourself that question. You see, I'm sure that the majority of the women that would come across this video or would be watching live right now probably have never really actually thought about that when it came to looking for a husband. Of looking for a faithful man that's faithful to the Most High and faithful to the law and commandments. All they were thinking about is, I want a man that's faithful to me. It's all about me. That NIGGA better not go cheat on me. And forgot that in order for you to find that kind of man, first you better be looking for that kind of man that's faithful to the Lord. Because if a man can't be faithful to the Lord, there's no way he's going to be faithful to you. How can you expect Pookie that's standing on the corner selling dope to be faithful to you? Or Ray Ray, who's out there being a pimp, pimping women, how do you expect him to be faithful to you? How do you expect the brother standing out there with his pants sagging, wearing all red or all blue, gang banging? How do you expect him to be faithful to you? Let's go to Revelation 14:12.
The book of Revelation, chapter 14 and verse 12. Here is the patience of the saints. Here are they that keep the commandments of God and the faith of Jesus.
So that's where you better be going. When you're looking for a husband, you better be looking amongst the saints of the Lord. Who are the saints? You Israelites, you so-called blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans. That are what? Here are they that keep the commandments of God and the faith of Jesus. You should be looking for that man that has both of those qualities. They're keeping the commandments of God and they have the faith of Christ. Because there are some of our brothers out there that are so-called Old Testament only brothers that only believe in the Old Testament. They don't even believe in JC, as they call them. The scripture says you got to have both. You got to have, keep the commandments and God and the faith of Jesus in order to get the kingdom. But they tell you only got to keep the commandments. You only got to keep the Old Testament. Just like there are some preachers out there and ministers that are teaching you only got to keep the New Testament. And they don't even really truly understand what faith is. They don't really understand what grace is. They don't really understand salvation, who it's for.
No.
So in order for you to discern the difference between the good, faithful, loving, godly, righteous man, to know the difference between him, again, and that wicked, demonic, ungodly, unrighteous, commandment, law breaking, man out there, is you've got to do what? You've got to study. You've got to apply these scriptures to your life. You've got to be willing to watch videos like this, sit down and write these precepts down and go read them for yourself. And we're making it easy. We put the precepts right up on the video for you. So all you got to do is just look, see the precept, write it down, and go read them. So you can constantly remind yourself, okay, this is what I should be looking for. Oh, this is what. And not only that, you need to teach your daughters. Should be teaching the young girls what kind of men they should be looking for when it's time for them to look for a husband. Not them looking for no boyfriend when they're in the 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th grade, 9th grade, 10th grade, 11th, 12th. They shouldn't even be thinking about no dating or nothing. That's none of that stuff if they're not at marriageable age. You need to be aware of what kind of counsel your kids are receiving, because they're receiving counsel from somebody. Even you women, you're receiving counsel from someone. And when it comes to the type of man that you choose, you need to choose a man that's going to be the right counselor for you, because your husband is going to be your counselor. And you need to know what kind of counsel is he going to give. He's going to be your leader. He's going to be your head. And you need to be willing to fall in line and let him lead. But that's where discernment comes in, because you need to make sure you choose wisely, because you need to know what kind of counselor that you bring into your life. What kind of counsel is he going to be giving you? Because whatever kind of counsel he gives you is the same kind of counsel he's going to be giving to your children. And whatever counsel he gives to your children is the same counsel they're going to give to their children. So is he going to be giving them godly counsel, or is he going to be giving them ungodly counsel? And remember, counsel isn't always the spoken word. It's also the unspoken word in a person's actions. All right, let's go to Sirach 37 and verses 8 through 12.
The book of Ecclesiasticus, chapter 37 and verse 8. Beware of counselors. And know
Actually,
before
start at verse 7.
Okay. The book of Ecclesiasticus, chapter 37 and verse 7. Every counselor exalted counsel, but there is some that conceal it for himself.
It says, every counselor extolleth counsel, but there is some that counseleth for himself. So there are some counselors out there. Some people you may go to for, advice. looking for a a word of advice in some kind of matter, but you got to be aware of who you're going to get advice from. As it says, but there is some that counseleth for himself. There are some men out there that are going to listen to your problems. They're going to listen to your wants and desires, but they're not listening so that they can help you. They're listening so that they can figure out how to use you to help themselves. Every counselor extolleth counsel, but there is some that counseleth for himself. Go ahead and read on.
Beware of counselor, and know before what need he hath, for he will counsel for himself, lest he cast a lot upon thee.
So he's telling you, beware of a counselor, just like we were just saying. Open your spiritual eyes, open your ears, really listen to the advice and to the things that a person's telling you, especially you women when it comes to meeting a man and putting your trust into a man and trying to, how would I put it? Trying to lead you. I'll give you an example. Actually, we'll finish this, then I'll give the example. How about that?
And say unto thee, thy way is good. And afterward he stand on the other side to see what shall befall thee. Consult not with one that suspected thee, and hide thy counsel from such that envy thee.
And women, you got to be aware of this. It says, consult not with one that suspected thee, and hide thy counsel from such as envy thee, because there are some men that are very suspicious towards their spouses. Some even have a lot of hidden envy and jealousy towards their spouses. And you got to beware of this kind of man, because that's the kind of man that could snap and be volatile, just like we just read about with the guy that we read that strangled his almost baby mama.
Right.
He was hiding some feelings towards her in order for him to act out the way he did, even though she told him what she told him, or he found out what he found out, and she finally admitted it to him. But you got to beware of that person that harbors those kinds of suspicious, feelings and that envy and jealousy towards you. Go ahead.
Neither consult with a woman touching her, of whom she is jealous. Neither with a coward in matters of war, nor with a merchant concerning exchange, nor with a buyer of selling, nor with an envious man of thankfulness, nor with an unmerciful man touching kindness, nor with a slothful for any work.
Nor with the slothful for any work. We're going to talk about that slothful brother later on in the lesson. Go ahead.
Nor with an hireling for a year of finishing work, nor with an idle servant of much busyness.
We're going to talk about that idle man also. We're going to cover all of this. We're going to cover the unmerciful man. We're going to cover that envious man. We're going to cover that slothful man, that lazy man, that idle man. We're going to cover all of that. It says, hearken not unto these in any matter of counsel. Go ahead.
Hearken not unto these in any matter of counsel, but be continually with a goodly man.
I'll read that again.
Be continually with a goodly man.
Read it again. I don't know. You always pronounce that as goodly.
Godly. You're right.
There you go. Go and read it one more time.
Right. But be continually with a godly man.
But be continually with a godly man. Again, be continually with a godly man. Read on.
Whom thou knowest to keep the commandments of the Lord, whose mind is according to thy mind, and will sorrow with thee if thou shalt miscarry.
We could be able to just shut the whole thing down right here and be like, you know what? That's all that needs to be said. That sums it up right there. What kind of man should you Israelite women be looking for? Be continued with a godly man, whom thou knowest to keep the commandments of the Lord, whose mind is according to thy mind, and will sorrow with thee if thou shalt miscarry. That sums it up right there.
Right.
But unfortunately, we got to go more in detail with our sisters because nobody's taught them. Nobody's taught you. And your husband is going to be your counselor. And again, you need to be aware of what kind of counselor you bring around you. And especially like in the case of the lady, she was a single mother with these 4 kids. Beware of what kind of men you bring around your children. Be aware of that. And the only way you're going to be able to discern the difference is by you keeping the commandments of the Lord. You being a godly woman. So that way, when you meet that man, you'll be able to know if his mind is according to your mind. If he's going to sorrow with you if you miscarry. Which it sounds to me in that situation, the brother did sorrow with her in her miscarriage that he thought she had. But when he found out the truth, he snapped. He went nuts. He went crazy. And again, not condoning what he did and not victim blaming. I don't know where this came from in today's times. Oh, you're victim shaming. You're victim blaming. Like, no, it's not. You're just telling the truth about the situation because they're trying to hide it in the media. And if you don't know what we're talking about, go back and watch the beginning of the video.
Right.
So what we just read right here, this isn't just good advice for counsel, though. But this is also good advice for a woman looking for a husband. Because let me say it again. Your husband is going to be your counselor. If you don't believe us, believe the scriptures. Go to 1 Corinthians 14 and 34 through 35. Believe the scriptures.
The book of 1 Corinthians, chapter 14 and verse 34. Let your women keep silence in the churches, for it is not permitted unto them to speak, but they are commanded to be under obedience, as also saith the law. And if they will learn anything, let them ask their husbands at home. For it is a shame for a woman to speak in the church.
So it says, and if they will learn anything, let them ask their husbands at home. Your husband is going to be your counselor. Your husband is going to be your head. He is your leader. The husband's supposed to lead the household. And if you have questions about anything, you're supposed to go to your husband. You see, American society has things set up that way. That if the woman has a question about anything, oh, go to pastor so-and-so, go to priest so-and-so, and get counsel from them. No, you're not supposed to be going to them to get counsel. You're supposed to be going to your husband. A woman's not supposed to be going sitting down on the couch and listening, talking to a so-called therapist when she's supposed to be getting counsel at home from her husband. That's Esau's kingdom.
Right.
And that's why you should be looking for a godly man, a faithful man to deal with, because he will be a man of wisdom. He will be a man of knowledge. He'll be a man of understanding. and he will be able to guide you in, those situations where you may have questions. And if it is a situation of you need questions in matters that he's not familiar with. Let's say it may be finances. Let's say it may be, Esau's law. Then he is the lead. He's the head. He should be the one that's stepping in and going and talking to that attorney or talking to that financial advisor and everything like that. Going along with, see that you keep seeing these kind of things happening nowadays in these relationships where these women take it upon themselves that, like we looked at last week, where the lady decided, she was going to jump on OnlyFans and not tell her husband. Right. Your husband is your head. Your husband is the leader of the house. And you women got to learn to fall back and allow him to do that. Yeah, we know what's happened in society today, that the woman has been put over the men. It's being done by design. But you notice it's only happening mostly in the so-called Black, Hispanic, and Native American households. You don't see the majority of white women acting that way towards their men, as you see our women acting towards us. You don't see it. So again, your husband's going to be your counselor. And when you meet a man, you need to take the time to know what needs he has. You need to know. You need to ask questions, because there are some wicked men out there that will talk a good game and pretend to be attentive. They'll pretend to be supportive of your life goals. They'll pretend to be supportive and attentive of your ambitions. But in reality, they will give you counsel having their own agenda in mind. And you won't realize that until it's too late. And which was going to lead me to a story that I was going to tell. This was some years ago. This was probably back in, I want to say like 99, 2000. I had a student of mine whose mother and father, they both worked for the Department of Corrections. The father somehow, working in the jail, contracted the flesh-eating virus, where he ended up in the hospital. He ended up passing away, and the mother received a very, very significant amount of money from the father passing away. She met some dude that, she fell head over heels for. He had a restaurant, and you can tell from meeting the dude that he was one of those slick, fast talking dudes, that he had his own agenda in mind. And he did exactly what the scripture said. He gave her counsel about what she should do with her money. Oh, invest in the restaurant. Guarantee you'll receive a return. And, he talked a good game to her. She invested all her money into his restaurant. He used her, abused her. Restaurant never took off. Restaurant closed. She lost all her money. Lost it all. So those are those kind of situations that the scriptures are talking about, that you need to know what kind of needs this man has before you deal with him. She had no idea that his restaurant was in need of financial backing, long-term financial backing, because it was struggling. It was not doing well whatsoever at all. If she had taken the time, instead of listening to just his counsel, because he wasn't her husband, he was some dude she decided to start messing with, dealing with. She would have gone to a legitimate financial advisor. They would have looked at the books. They would have looked at the financial record. Like, hey, you know what? I don't think you should do this. And she would have been like, why? They would have said, well, you see this, you see that this business isn't bringing any revenue in. It's not making any money. It would be a bad decision. It would be a unwise investment. And she could have saved herself the trouble. But instead, she took the counsel of this dude, let him sweet talk her into investing her money into this restaurant. And the restaurant closed within, I believe, like 6 months.
Oh.
It was gone. It was done. She lost all her money. So, again, this is just to warn you. Your husband's going to be your counselor. When you meet the man, you need to take the time to know what kind of needs he has. And are those needs so needy that you'd be putting yourself in a bad situation by dealing with them? And the only way you're going to know that is through discernment. And what's going to teach you how to have that discernment? The Word of God. All right. So real quick, we've talked about a couple of characteristics that the man should have. The main one we were talking about is one that's what? Faithful to the Most High. So I'm gonna show this list that I typed up, answering that question. What are the characteristics a woman should look for in a husband? So let me share my screen real quick. Let me see. Let me know if it. All right, there it is. All right. So what are other characteristics a woman should look for in a husband? So I put it into two categories. What the women of the world look for versus the Israelite woman. Just trying to make it simple. All right. So the women of the world, we know that from the time they're little kids, Valentine's Day and all this stuff is pushed on our young women. And they're pushed into looking for certain things in a man. The first thing is always usually who's the most popular. That's usually how it works. So the women of the world, though, it's always what? Things centered around 1, education. 2, the career. 3, their salary. 4, material possessions. 5, looks, such as what? 6, their height. 7, their weight. Their race. Are they a fun guy? Are they funny? Do they have a so-called good personality, which most of the women nowadays don't even know what they mean by a good personality because they don't really know what a good personality is. And sexual prowess. That's what the women of the world are looking for. Look at the list. And most of them don't even pay attention to that. Nowadays, it's cut down to salary, sexual prowess, and height. We could throw height in there because that is one of the main ones. So those main 3. And you could throw fun in there, 4, and funny maybe 5. So at the most, in today's society, women are looking for those main 5 things. But worldly thoughts usually center around these 12. All right. When it comes to the repentant Israelite woman, what is it that you should be looking for when it comes to looking for a husband? Here's a list that I put together. Calm, caring, considerate, cooperative, courteous, cultured, decent, decisive, dedicated, dignified, disciplined, educated, faithful. We already been talking about, we've been harping on the faithful for a while so far in this lesson. Flexible, forgiving, friendly, generous, gentle, genuine, gracious, hardworking, helpful, honest, honorable, humble, intelligent, kind, lovable, loyal, mature, optimistic, orderly, organized, patient, peaceful, principled, prudent, punctual, reliable, resourceful, respectful, responsible, romantic, skillful, sober, sociable, sophisticated, strong in spirit, witty, and wise. So take a look at this list and ask yourself the question, how many of these on the list does your husband fulfill? Or maybe the man that you're considering to be your husband. And check it out as time goes by. Check him off. Is he calm? Is he caring? Check. Considerate. Yeah, I see that in him. Check. Is he cooperative? Check. And so on through. I'm not going to go through the whole list like this, but we've already gone through the list, but look at it. Copy it. If you want a copy of it, send us an email and I'll email it to you.
Mm-hmm.
But look at this list. Look at this list. That's 50. Again, 50 characteristics that a woman should be looking for in the man that she wants to marry. And that's not even all of them. All right, because there are some that are not on the list that we're going to cover as we go on in the lesson. But as an Israelite woman, you need to forget about what the world has been teaching you and caring only about this stuff and look more over here at what's inside the inner man when you meet him. Because what's happening is it's all about how much a man makes and how good he looks, and don't even care about what the inner man is about. That's where society has come today. All right. So keep that in mind. This is a very long list. Ask yourselves, ladies, does your list look like this? Does it? I doubt it. When it comes to you meeting a man, I doubt that you have a list this long with this many qualities that you're going to look for in this man. And don't worry, because later on in the lesson, we have another list of the kind of man you shouldn't be looking for. So got another list for that too. That's just as long. All right. So let me stop sharing and let's continue on. Let's go to the book of Colossians, chapter 3, and verse 19.
The book of Colossians, chapter 3, and verse 19. Husbands, love your wives, and be not bitter against them.
So, hence the name of this lesson. Husbands, love your wives, and be not bitter against them. So, we're going to break this down so you can understand what this is talking about. But that's the first, not the first, but that's one of the main things that you as a woman should be looking for. A husband that's going to love you and that's not going to be bitter against you. You men that may be watching this, love your wives and be not bitter against them. And we're going to break it down so you understand what it means by bitter. We've got to learn how to be loving to our wives because society is not teaching us that. As young men growing up in America, especially some of our men growing up in the worst parts of America, the worst neighborhoods, not being taught how to love a woman, not righteously, not the right way. So we've got to teach our young men that they are to be husbands that love their wives and not to be bitter against them, as the scripture says. How do you be a loving husband to your wife? By having all those attributes that we just went over. Calm, caring, considerate, cooperative, courteous, cultured, decent, decisive, dedicated, dignified, disciplined, educated, faithful, flexible, forgiving, friendly, generous, gentle, genuine, gracious, hardworking, helpful, honest, honorable, humble, intelligent, kind, lovable, loyal, mature, optimistic, orderly, organized, patient, peaceful, principled, prudent, punctual, reliable, resourceful, respectful, responsible, romantic, skillful, sober, sociable, sophisticated, strong in spirit, witty, and wise. But what else? According to what the scripture says. Not just a list that I put together,
Right.
but let's do it according to what the scripture says. First and foremost, go to 1 Peter 3 and 7.
The book of 1 Peter, chapter 3 and verse 7. Likewise, ye husbands, dwell within them. Hold on. Likewise, ye husbands, dwell with them according to knowledge, giving honor unto the wife as unto the weaker vessel, and as being heirs together of the grace of life, that your prayers be not hindered.
So it's telling us, likewise, ye husbands, dwell with them according to knowledge. What does that mean? According to knowledge, giving honor unto the wife. As what? Unto the weaker vessel, because she is the weaker vessel. So you're not supposed to be bitter against your wife. Why is that? Well, you'll find out in a couple of more precepts. But we need to dwell with them. We're going to deal with the knowledge first. What does that mean, dwell with them according to knowledge? Grab Malachi 2 and 7. What is knowledge?
The book of Malachi, chapter 2 and verse 7. For the priest's lips shall keep knowledge, and they shall seek the law at his mouth, for he is the messenger of the Lord of hosts.
For the priest's lips should keep knowledge, and they should seek the law at his mouth. So in other words, in 1 Peter 3 and 7, where it says, ye husbands, dwell with them according to knowledge, it's telling us husbands that we must deal with our wives according to the law. Let me say it again. We must deal with our wives according to the law.
Right.
For the priest's lips should keep knowledge, and they should seek the law at his mouth. The knowledge is talking about the law. We have to dwell with our wives according to knowledge, according to the law. So when we bring out these precepts, when we bring out these laws, we must abide by them. Not giving you all these precepts for them to go in one ear and out the other, ladies, when it comes to you finding a husband, and you husbands dwelling with your wives according to the law, loving them and not being bitter against them. What is the bitter talking about? Let's go to Psalm 64 and verses 2 through 3.
Book of Psalms, chapter 64 and verse 2. Hide me from the secret counsel of the wicked, from the instruction of the workers of iniquity,
Insurrection.
of insurrection. Okay, hold on. Hide me from the secret counsel of the wicked, from the insurrection of the workers of iniquity, who whet their tongues like a sword and bend their bows to shoot their arrows, even bitter words.
Even bitter words. So when it's telling us, be not bitter against our wives, it's talking about what? Husbands, you shouldn't be talking crazy to your wife. You shouldn't be using these bitter words. You hear some of these men, the way they talk to their wives, calling them all kinds of names, calling them, just cursing at them, yelling at them, screaming at them, having their wives so afraid of them that anytime the husband even just frowns, the woman is petrified and scared. That shouldn't be going on in the household. Husbands, love your wives and be not bitter against them. So you women, when you meet these men, you should be listening very carefully to the words that come from their mouth. You should be listening very carefully on how they speak, how they talk, not only just to you, but to other people. If he can't speak respectfully to others, what makes you think he's going to speak respectfully to you? If he's going to talk to you the way you hear these rap artists talk in their music, why would you want to be with that kind of man? Let's go to Jeremiah 2 and 19.
The book of Jeremiah, chapter 2 and verse 19. Thy own wickedness shall correct thee, and thy backsliding shall reprove thee. Know therefore and see that it is an evil thing and bitter that thou hast forsaken the Lord thy God, and that my fear is not in thee, saith the Lord God of hosts.
So you ladies, stop going after these men that are quick to forsake the Lord. Because he says to forsake him is an evil and bitter thing to do. So you husbands, love your wives and be not bitter against them. Don't be talking crazy to them. And don't you dare go and forsake the Lord. Because if you forsake the Lord, you know for sure he's going to forsake his wife. It's an evil and bitter thing to forsake the Most High and his laws and commandments. Let's go to Jeremiah 4 and 18. I told you, we're going to give you precepts and put, you know what I mean? We're going to use some of these precepts that you probably hadn't even thought of using to help you to find the right kind of husband. Go ahead.
The book of Jeremiah, chapter 4 and verse 18. Thy way and thy doing have procured these things unto thee. This is thy wickedness, because it is bitter, because it reacheth unto thine heart.
Thy way, talking about the way in which our people walk, because our people love to walk in what? In unrighteousness. Thy way and thy doings have procured these things unto thee. This is thy wickedness, because it is bitter. So we're reading that the Lord says that this bitterness is what? Wickedness and an evil thing. It is bitterness, because it reaches where? Unto thine heart, meaning into your mind. So the scriptures tell us that the bitter things that a man says and does reach all the way to the mind and conscience. Let me say that again. The scriptures is telling us that the bitter things that a man says and does reach all the way to the mind and conscience. Again, believe the scriptures. Let God be true and every man a liar. Husbands, love your wives and be not bitter against them. Don't say no evil thing. Don't say no wicked thing. Don't do no evil thing. Don't do no wicked thing to them. Don't be bitter against them. Don't forsake them. Why would you trust in a man and think that he won't forsake you if he will forsake the law and commandments and forsake the Lord? Let's go to James 3 and 5 through 11.
The book of James, chapter 3 and verse 5. Even so, the tongue is a little member and boasted great things. Behold, how great a matter a little fire kindleth. And the tongue is a fire, a world of iniquity. So is the tongue among our members, that it defileth the whole body, and setteth on fire the course of nature, and it is set on fire of hell. For every kind of beast, and of birds, and of serpents, and of things in the sea is tame, and had been tame of mankind. But the tongue can no man tame. It is an unruly evil, full of deadly poison.
So it says, but the tongue can no man tame. It is an unruly evil, full of deadly poison. He's telling us the tongue is a fire, a world of iniquity. Ladies, listen carefully to the words that come out of these men's mouths when you meet them. Don't be so enamored by, the handsome looks, the nice clothes, because that's what they're looking at. They're looking at the nice, expensive shoes, the nice, fitted suit they may have on, the tie, the hair done right, the beard groomed right. Looking at him, looking all debonair and not listening to the word he's saying. Go ahead and read.
Therewith bless we God, even the Father, and therewith curse we men, which are made after the similitude of God. Out of the same mouth proceeded blessings and cursings. My brethren, these things are not to be.
So he's telling us, out of one side of the mouth, you're talking about, oh, I love the Most High. I'm a man of God. I'm a prophet. But out the other side of the mouth, you're cursing all kinds of brothers, all kinds of men, forget that fool, F that nigga, and all this, all kind of profanity coming out of your mouth all the time, and hatred and things like that towards your brothers. But he says, out of the same mouth proceeded blessing and cursing. My brethren, these things ought not so to be. Read on.
Does a fountain send forth at the same place sweet water and bitter?
So can a fountain send forth at the same place sweet water and bitter water? You can't do it. Go ahead.
Can the fig tree, my brethren, bear olive berries? Either a vine figs, so can no fountain both yield salt water and fresh.
So you can't have both. You can't have righteous words and unrighteous words coming out of your mouth. It's not supposed to be happening. Again, ladies, listen to the words coming out of the man's mouth, because it tells you exactly how he's really feeling and what he's truly thinking, because the things that come out of the mouth come from the heart, come from the mind. Let's go to James 3 and 13 through 18.
James 13. Okay, the book of James, chapter 3 and verse 13. Is a wise man
I'll read that
endued
again.
is a oh yeah who is a wise man and endureth with knowledge among you.
It actually says, "Who is a wise man and endued with knowledge among you?" Read.
Let him show out of a good conversation his works with meekness of wisdom.
Let him show out of a good conversation his works with meekness of wisdom. Read.
Um, but if ye have bitter envying and strife in your hearts, glory not, and lie not against the truth.
But if you have bitter envying, we talked about that envy and jealousy a man could harbor inside towards his woman. It says, but if you have bitter envying and strife in your hearts, glory not and lie not against the truth. Because what's it going to tell us about that bitter envying and strife? Remember, husband, love your wives and be not bitter against them. Because some of you men hold that bitter envying and strife in your hearts towards your wives, where you let that envy and jealousy get the best of you. And next thing you know, you're causing arguments and causing all kinds of strife within the household. But what is he going to tell us? Read verse 15. Go on.
This wisdom descended not from above, but is earthly, sensual, devilish.
But this wisdom descended not from above, but is earthly, sensual, devilish. So, ladies, listen to the words coming out of your man's mouth. When he starts acting all bitter and envious and jealous and starts striving you with all kind of words of hatred, that wisdom don't come from the Most High. It's earthly wisdom. It's sensual wisdom. It's devilish wisdom. Go ahead and read.
For where envying and strife is, there is confusion, every evil work.
For where envying and strife is, there is confusion in every evil work. Everything that's around this kind of person is going to be evil. There's nothing good that's going to be surrounding this person. Go ahead.
But the wisdom that is from above is first pure, then peaceable, gentle, and easy to be entreated, full of mercy and good fruit, without partiality and without hypocrisy.
And we've got lessons dealing with all of these attributes right here. Dealing with pure, dealing with being peaceable, dealing with being gentle, dealing with someone being easy to be entreated, have full of mercy and good fruits. Lessons on how to be without partiality, as we were talking about earlier in the lesson with that news story. They're being very partial in their reporting towards the woman and making the man just look like he was just a crazy monster. After you read the context and know the context of what really happened, then you can see that no, he wasn't exactly the monster that they were portraying him to be. And without hypocrisy, lessons on not being the hypocrite. Go ahead and read.
And the fruit of righteousness is sown in peace of them that make peace.
So you want to look for that man that the fruit of righteousness is sown into. You don't want to deal with that man where the fruit of unrighteousness has been sown into. You don't want that man in your life. But it says, and the fruit of righteousness is sown in peace of them that make peace. So is the man you're dealing with making peace in the household, or is the man you're dealing with coming home and creating all kinds of havoc in the house? Every time they step through the door, there's an argument or there's some kind of strife going on. You got to think about that. And also, too, ladies, if you don't want that kind of man, don't be that kind of woman that every time your man comes home, that you're causing some kind of argument, causing some kind of ruckus in the house over little things. We covered that last time when we did the other lesson. We just want to reiterate it. All right. Let's go to Job 5:2. Now, this is a very long lesson again, so we may not get through it all today.
The book of Job, chapter 5 and verse 2. For what kindleth the foolish man,
Read that again.
and for wrath killeth the foolish man, and envy slayeth the silly one.
For wrath killeth the foolish man, and envy slayeth the silly one. So again, you want to be aware of that wrathful man. You want to be aware, ladies, of that foolish man. You want to be aware of the envious man, because the Lord tell us, for wrath killeth the foolish man, and envy slayeth the silly one. You want to be aware of those silly men, because society tells you to love those men, those comedian type men. You're I don't know, who am I thinking of? I don't know, name a comedian.
Bernie Mac.
Who? Bernie Mac. There you go, Bernie Mac. You know, any of these silly comedic type men.
Cat Williams.
Yeah, Cat Williams. All of these type of men. Eddie Murphy. All of them. But what does America say? Oh, they so funny. They're rich. And these women flock to them. And then they wonder why they get involved in these relationships with these kind of men. And quickly they start to realize, like, oh my gosh, I was like living with it. It was like living with a child. He's so immature. But we on the list, we saw that you're looking for what? A man that's mature.
Right.
That's what you should be looking for. Stay away from these silly, immature, comedic type men. But ladies like them because, oh, they're so funny. Let's go to the book of Proverbs, chapter 14, and verses 29 through 30.
The book of Proverbs, chapter 14, and verse 29. He that is slow to wrath is of great understanding, but he that is hasty of spirit exalteth fully. A sound heart is the life of the flesh, but envy the rottenness of the bones.
So it's telling us he that is slow to wrath is of great understanding, because we just read in Job 5 and 2, for wrath killeth the foolish man. But on the flip side, he that is slow to wrath is of great understanding. So you want to look for that man who is peaceful, who is slow to wrath. He has a calm spirit. Isn't that one of the attributes that was on the list? He's calm. That's what you want to be looking for. You don't want that man that's quick to get angry.
Mm-hmm.
He that is slow to wrath is of great understanding, but he that is hasty of spirit exalteth folly. A sound heart is the life of the flesh, but envy the rottenness of the bones. Let's go to Proverbs 27 and 4. So we're going to give you a whole lot of precepts that really shall help you understand what kind of man you should be looking for.
The book of Proverbs, chapter 27 and verse 4. Wrath is cruel, and anger is outrageous. But who is able to stand before envy?
Wrath is cruel. So do you really want that kind of man in your life? It's telling you. Wrath is cruel. That kind of wrathful man is a cruel man. And anger is outrageous. Do you really want an angry man in your life? Do you really want that? Again, we're giving you the attributes to look for and the attributes to not look for. And it's not us, it's in the scriptures. The Bible's giving it to you. The Lord's giving it to you. The question is, are you going to listen? Are you going to hearken? Are you going to take these attributes and put them to use. The next time, if you're a single lady and you are really looking for a husband, are you going to continue using the tools the world gave you to find a husband, or are you going to use the tools that God gave you? Because if you use the tools God gave you, trust the Lord, he's not going to steer you wrong. He's not going to bring you the wrong kind of man into your life. You be a wicked woman, then he's going to bring you a wicked man. You be a wrathful woman, he's going to bring you a wrathful man. You an angry woman, he's going to bring you an angry man. Again, Proverbs 27:4, wrath is cruel and anger is outrageous, but who is able to stand before envy? Again, going back to, do you want that envious man in your life? Let's go to Sirach 37:10.
The book of Ecclesiasticus, chapter 37 and verse 10. Consult not with one that suspecteth thee, and hide thy counsel from such as envy thee.
So we touched on this a little bit earlier, but again, consult not with one that suspecteth thee, and hide thy counsel from such as envy thee. Be aware of that man that you are going to consult with and get counsel from. Let's go to Proverbs 15 and 18.
The book of Proverbs, chapter 15 and verse 18. A wrathful man stirreth up strife, but he that is slow to anger appeaseth strife.
A wrathful man stirreth up, strife. A wrathful man stirreth up strife. That's why you want to be aware and stand clear of that wrathful type of man, because all he's going to do is bring strife into your life. He's not going to bring peace. He's going to bring strife. And life is going to be an argument all the time. Life is going to be a headache. Life is going to be unbearable. You're not going to be able to relax. You're not going to be able to, you're going to be walking on eggshells around this man.
Right.
Because the wrong step, the wrong thing you say, the wrong thing you do, and he's going to be cursing you out like there's tomorrow. No, there's no tomorrow, actually. A wrathful man stirreth up strife, but he that is slow to anger appeaseth strife. That's why you want somebody that's what? Calm, that's cool, collected, that's got what? Self-control. Somebody that's not going to exhibit, you know what I mean, emotions that shows that he could be that kind of person, just get out of control at any time and end up causing you harm or putting his hands on you. You don't want that in your life. A wrathful man stirreth up strife, but he that is slow to anger appeaseth strife. You want that man that can right away see that, okay, this is probably going to lead to an argument. Let me steer it in this direction. Let me take it right instead of taking it left, because you know that we don't need to be arguing about this. That's the kind of man you want in your life. You don't want that man that's quick to go from 0 to 100 and take things left real quick. Let's go to Proverbs 16 and 27 through 30.
The book of Proverbs, chapter 16 and verse 27. An ungodly man diggeth up evil, and in his lips there is as a burning fire. A forward man soweth strife, and a whisperer separated chief friends. A violent man enticeth his neighbor, and leadeth him into the way that is not good. He shutteth his eyes to devise forward things. Moving his lips, he bringeth evil to pass.
So there's a lot said in this that you probably don't pay much attention to. Number one, telling you about the ungodly man. It's telling you about the froward man. It's warning you about the violent man, also warning you about the whisperer, and is also giving you a little heed about the kind of man that with his mouth makes evil happen. Ungodly, froward, violent, whisperer, and brings evil to pass. The evil man. So we're going to touch on all of those. We're going to touch on the ungodly man. We're going to touch on the froward man. We're going to touch on the violent man, the whisperer, the evil man. So it says, an ungodly man diggeth up evil, and in his lips there is as a burning fire. So it's warning you about dealing with the ungodly man. Why would you want an ungodly man in your life? That kind of man that what? Digs up evil. The kind of man that you can't trust the words that are coming out of his mouth. The froward man, it says, a froward man soweth strife, and a whisperer separated chief friends. Why would you want that kind of man in your life? The man that speaks froward things, that does what? Sow strife in the house. Just like we just read about the wrathful man. A wrathful man stirreth up strife. Why would you want to deal with that whisper that, he'll go even behind his best friend's back and whisper and talk trash behind his woman's back, his friend's back, family members? Why would you want to deal with that? And you would know, because if he's doing it to them, that should tell you he will do it to you too. And that's how some of these women do it too. So don't get it twisted. Women will do it, where if they meet somebody and they say, are you with someone? And they'll be like, well, yeah, but he's like this, he's like that. And, I'm just not too sure. And the guy's like, oh, if he's like that, why are you with him? You need a man. Like, women do that too, where the man will be like, oh man, you know what? Yeah, I'm with her, but she kind of crazy. I just don't know about her. And the woman sitting there going, oh, she's like that. Oh, you need somebody like me. You got to be careful of these whispers that do what? Separated chief friends. A violent man enticeth his neighbor and leadeth him into the way that is not good. You meet that man and all he's thinking about all the time and talking about how he's going to kick this person's this and he's going to beat that person's that. He's going to whoop this person, and be careful of that. Be real careful of that. Let's go to Proverbs 17:14. Like I said, we're going to give you these precepts. They're not going to do this in the church. They're not going to bring out these precepts and teach you the kind of man to stay away from.
Proverbs 17, the book of Proverbs 17 and verse 4.
14.
A wicked, I'm sorry, yeah. The book of Proverbs chapter 17 and verse 14. The beginning of strife is as when one letteth out water. Therefore, leave of contention before it be meddled with.
The beginning of strife is as when one letteth out water. What happens when you have a bathtub full of water and you pull that plug out? Immediately, that water just gets sucked in. That's how strife is. Just like that water quickly going down that drain, that's how fast a physical altercation can happen from strife. It could go from 0 to 100 in a minute. You see it happening more and more nowadays. The argument starts, the fists start flying, the knife comes out, the gun comes out, and the bullets start flying. Water can't be controlled. Even a dam can't 100% control water. How many dams have we heard about that have, during strong storm seasons, that the dams have broken, especially here in California. We've had about two or
Right.
three of them in the last 3 or 4 years,
Right.
where the dam just broke. The water started coming out. So even a dam can't 100% control water. That's why Bruce Lee had a proverb that he used: "Be as water, flow. Let your techniques flow." Because water, as it flows, it goes around everything and anything. Water is the strongest substance on earth. You may think it's concrete, you may think it's steel, but it's not. It's water. Water is the softest, hardest substance you will ever. And I know you may be saying, "What does that even make sense?" But yeah, it does. Water is the softest, hardest substance on this earth, on this planet. Go and jump off a bridge and see what happens to you. Hitting that water from 100, 150 feet in the air is worse than hitting concrete at that same height. The beginning of strife is as when one letteth out water, therefore leave off contention before it be meddled with. You need to deal with that man that has enough understanding that when he senses strife happening, he senses contention, he has enough sense and enough willpower to back off, leave it alone, and not meddle with it, because he knows that contention can lead to physical altercations, and physical altercations can lead to somebody getting hurt, which could also lead to death. That dude that choked that lady out that we were reading about at the beginning of the lesson, he obviously didn't have that kind of control. That no matter, what she did, how she lied, he didn't have enough awareness, enough self-control to leave off of contention. He let it escalate to the point to where his feelings and his thoughts and his actions got so out of control that he ended up committing murder. Put his hands around her throat and choked her out. The beginning of strife is as when one letteth out water. Therefore, leave off contention before it be meddled with. Let's go to Proverbs 17 and 18 through 20.
The book of Proverbs, chapter 17 and verse 18. A man void of understanding striketh hands.
So a man void of understanding striketh hands. That's how we know that this man that we read about in that story at the beginning, he had no understanding. That's why he was quick to strike with the hands. And I'm sure he probably did more to her than just put his hands around her throat, because the kids were describing an altercation. The kids heard everything in the house. So he was obviously putting his hands on her before he actually choked her. But a man void of understanding striketh hands, read on.
And becometh surdity in the presence of his friend. Excuse me. He loveth transgression that loves strife, and he that exalted
transgression that loveth strife. He loveth transgression that loveth strife. Because there are some men out there, they love strife. They love to meddle with contention. They love to be in the midst of arguments and fights. There are some men that are just that way. They love that kind of stuff. And they have no qualms about telling you about it, because that's that man that's always quick to have a story about some kind of fight they had, some kind of altercation they had, some kind of argument they had. Go ahead.
And he that exalted his gate seeketh destruction.
And he that exalted his gate seeketh destruction. Go ahead.
He that hath a forward heart findeth no good.
He that hath a froward heart, meaning a froward mind, findeth no good. Go ahead.
and he that hath a perverse tongue falleth into mischief.
So this is giving you a clue, ladies, about the kind of man that you need to avoid. That man that's void of understanding, that love to strike with his hands. Be aware of that. And I'm not talking about, somebody like Mike Tyson that just because he's a boxer means that he's going to put his hands on his woman, because that's what his ex-wife used to, to make everybody get on her side and think he was crazy by saying, he's a manic depressive, and when he gets mad, he gets violent and he gets angry. And not every man is that way. But you better be well aware when you meet a man if he's void of understanding. If he's the kind of man that loves transgression and loves strife. And transgression means transgressing the commandments of the Most High. Is he a man that has a froward heart? Because it's telling us, he that hath a froward heart findeth no good thing. That man, there's nothing good going on around that man that has a froward mind. And dealing with that man that has a perverse tongue, says he that hath a perverse tongue falleth into mischief. Listen to the words that comes out of men's mouths. If he speaks perversely, that lets you know that he's quick to fall into mischievous things. Let's go to Proverbs 26 and 21.
The book of Proverbs, chapter 26 and verse 21. As coals are to burning coals and wood to fire, so is a contentious man to kindle strife.
So you better watch out for that contentious man. Just like wood burning, just like fire burning wood, just like coals burning coal. That kind of man is quick to kindle strife, a contentious man. You want to light a fire to barbecue? You put the coals in the grill. You get that, what do you call it? Why is my mind going blank? The wet stuff you put on the coals.
The lighter fluid?
Yeah, the lighter fluid. Thank you. Mind going blank. You put that lighter fluid all over the coals and you light that match, or you get that clicker and light that fire. That's what a contentious man is. He's that lighter fluid thrown on the fire, or sprayed on the fire. He's that flame that's put to the lighter fluid to light the fire. As coals are to burning coals and wood to fire, so is a contentious man to kindle strife. Which means you're never going to have peace in the house. Watch out for them brothers that have that lack discipline, that lack self-control, who have a short fuse. Watch out for them. Be aware of them. And the red flags are there in front of women when they meet them. They just ignore them because what? He's so fine. Girl, he's driving a Porsche. Girl, you should have saw what he was rolling. He picked me up in. He picked me up in a Tesla, girl. You should have saw the restaurant he took me to. We went dancing afterwards. Yeah, he did all that, but you weren't paying attention to how he was talking down to the workers in the restaurant. While he was driving, he was cursing out people on the road because they may have cut him off. Somebody bumped into him on the dance floor and he was ready to fight. She didn't pay attention to none of that. She paid attention to those things that her eyes could see, but she didn't pay attention to the things her ears could hear. Let's go to Proverbs 28 and 25.
The book of Proverbs, chapter 28 and verse 25. He that is of a proud heart stirreth up strife, but he that putteth his trust in the Lord shall be made fat.
He that is of a proud heart stirreth up strife. You better look for that man that's full of pride. I mean, look out for that man that's full of pride. Not look for, but look out for that man that's full of pride. Because he that is of a proud heart stirreth up strife. You better look for that man that puts his trust in the Most High. It says, but he that putteth his trust in the Lord shall be made fat. He's going to be blessed by the Most High. He's going to be given anything and everything he needs in this life to make it in life. But that's if he puts his trust in the Most High. But again, be aware of that man that's proud of heart. Why? Let's go to Sirach 10 and 7.
The book of Sirach, Ecclesiasticus chapter 10 and verse 7. Pride is hateful before God and man, and by both doth one commit iniquity.
So pride is hateful before God and man. Both God and man hate prideful people. They hate pride. And by both do one commit iniquity. When you let that pride come in, you commit sin against God and you commit sin against your fellow men. And if you're a husband and you're a prideful husband, and in the midst of a situation, you let pride come on you, that's where you're going to commit sin against your wife. Let's go to Sirach 10 and 12 through 13.
Ecclesiasticus chapter 10 and verse 12. The beginning of pride is when one departed from God, and his heart is turned away from his maker.
So the beginning of pride is when one departed from God, and his heart is turned away from his maker, meaning his mind. So you need to be aware of this prideful man. Read.
For pride is the beginning of sin.
For pride is the beginning of sin. Read.
And he that hath had it shall pour out abomination. And therefore the Lord brought up on them strange calamities and overthrew them utterly.
And the them is talking about us Israelites. Because of our pride, he overthrew us. That's why we're living in this land of America, living under the rulership of another nation, because of our pride. And our family units are destroyed. Why? Because of our pride. Let's go on to Ephesians chapter 5 and verses 25 through 33.
The book of Ephesians chapter 5 and verse 25. It says, husbands, love your wives, even as Christ also loved the church and gave himself for it.
So it's telling you need to look for a man that's going to love his wife. And you men, the Lord is commanding you, husbands, love your wives, even as Christ also loved the church and gave himself for it. Christ loved the church so much that he gave his life for the church. That's how much you husbands need to love your wives, that you would be willing to give your life for her, just as Christ gave his life for the church. Go ahead.
That he might sanctify and cleanse it with the washing of water by the word. That he might present it to himself a glorious church, not having spot or wrinkle or any such thing, but that it should be holy, without blemish. So ought men love their wives as their own bodies.
So ought men to love their wives as their own bodies. You've got to love your wife the same way you love yourself. And if you don't love yourself, you can't love your wife. If you don't love God, you can't love yourself. If you can't love yourself, you can't love your wife. That's just the fact of the matter. So he's telling us, so ought men to love their wives as their own bodies. Read on.
He that loveth his wife loveth himself.
Enough said. He that loveth his wife loveth himself. Read on.
For no man ever yet hated his own flesh, but nourished and cherishes it, even as the Lord, the church. For we are members of his body, of his flesh, and of his bones.
For we are members of his body, of his flesh, and of his bones. In other words, you so-called blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans, you are bone of his bones, flesh of his flesh. In other words, you are his kindred. You are direct descendants of Christ. You have the same blood running through your veins. Christ was a so-called black man from the tribe of Judah. He was an Israelite. Go ahead and read.
For this cause shall a man leave his father and mother, and shall be joined unto his wife, and they two shall be one flesh.
For this cause shall a man leave his father and mother, and shall be joined unto his wife, and they two shall be one flesh. Not they three, not they four, not they five shall be one flesh,
Right.
But they two shall be one flesh. Go on.
This is a great mystery, but I speak concerning Christ and the church. Nevertheless, let every one of you in particular so love his wife, even as himself, and the wife see that she reverence her husband.
Nevertheless, let every one of you Israelite men, you so-called black, Hispanic, and Native American men that are the Israelites. Nevertheless, every one of you in particular so love his wife even as himself, and the wife see that she reverence her husband. Let's go to 1 Corinthians 6 and 15 through 20.
The book of 1 Corinthians chapter 6 and verse 15. Know ye not that your bodies are the members of Christ? Shall I then take the members of Christ and make them the members of an harlot? God forbid. What? Know ye not that he which is joined to an harlot is one body? For two, saith he, shall be one flesh. But
read that again. That even almost jumped over my. Read that again.
What? Know ye not that he which is joined to an harlot is one body? For two, saith he, shall be one flesh.
For two, saith he, shall be one flesh. Not three, not four, not five, not six, not 10, not 20, 30, 40, 50, or 1,000 like Solomon had. For two, saith he, shall be one flesh. Go ahead.
But he that is joined unto the Lord is one spirit. Flee fornication.
Do what?
Flee fornication.
So you want to make sure that you find that man that understands to flee fornication. Go ahead.
Every sin that a man doeth is without the body, but he that committed fornication sinneth against his own body.
But he that committed fornication sinneth against his own body. Read.
What? Know ye not that your body is the temple of the Holy Ghost, which is in you, which ye have of God, and ye are not your own? For ye are bought with a price. Therefore, glorify God in your body and in your spirit, which are God's.
All right. So, number one, watch out for those men running around preaching multiple wives. The scriptures keeps telling you over and over and over again, two shall be one flesh. There's nowhere 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, especially in the New Testament. Show me in the New Testament where there's anyone that had more than one wife. You don't find it in the New Testament at all. That's why some of these dudes stay on the Old Testament, so that they try and discredit Paul, some of them, so that they can keep preaching their doctrine of multiple wives. Yes, in the Old Testament, the Most High allowed it for certain situations, but it was never meant to be that way from the beginning. Christ told us that. But again, these men don't want to listen to Christ. They won't even listen to Christ, so we know they're not going to listen to us. So, question for you ladies. Why would a woman want to deal with a man, number one, that messes with prostitutes? Why would you want? So what is the scriptures telling you? Don't be dealing with that man that wants to deal with harlots. Don't be ashamed to ask that man when you meet him, have you ever dealt with prostitutes? You ever paid a woman, to lay down with you? And Lord willing, he will tell you the truth. And if he says yes, then let him say, you know what, I can't deal with you, man. Because if you don't have enough self-love that, for yourself, that you don't want to go lay down with a woman and, pay her to lay down with you, you can't have that enough self-respect. You are not going to have enough respect for me. So beware of that man that deals with or dealt with prostitutes. Be diligent in trying to find out if he is that kind of man. You got to be aware of that, because if he did it then, he'll probably most likely do it again. You got to know, you got to find out. All right, let's go to Proverbs 29:3.
The book of Proverbs, chapter 29, and verse 3. Whoso loveth wisdom rejoiceth his father, but he that keepeth company with harlots spendeth his substance.
But he that keepeth company with harlots spendeth his substance. That man that wants to go paying women to lay down with them, that's money that they could be using in their household, especially if they're a husband, especially if they're a man that's married and have a family. But you're going to find that there are a lot of these men out there in the world that even though they have a wife at home, they've got kids at home, they're secretly going out there and spending their money on hotel rooms and laying down with prostitutes. That's money they're taking away from their family. And not only that, just think of what can they bring home to their wife, messing around with these dirty women, messing around with these kind of women. But he that keepeth company with harlots spendeth his substance. Let's go to Sirach 9:3-9.
The book of Ecclesiasticus, chapter 9, and verse 3. Meet not with an harlot, lest thou fall into her snares. Use not much the company of a woman that is a singer, lest thou be taken with her attempts. Gaze not on a maid, that thou fall not by those things that are precious in her. Give not thy soul unto harlots, that thou lose not thine inheritance. Look not round about thee in the streets of the city, neither wander thou in the solitary places thereof. Turn away thine eye from a beautiful woman, and look not upon another's beauty. For many have been deceived by the beauty of a woman, for herewith love is kindled as a fire. Sit not at all with another man's wife, nor sit down with her in thine arms, and spend not thy money with her at the wine, lest thy heart incline unto her, and so through thy desire thou fall into destruction.
So, ladies, you need to be looking for a man that does not that does not give into temptation. Everybody's going to fall into temptation. It's that man that gives into temptation, that gives into iniquity, that does not listen to counsel, that will disregard counsel. The counsel of who? The counsel of the Most High. That's given us men counsel as to the kind of woman to avoid. But some of these men will disregard the counsel of the Most High and will go and deal with these harlots. They will go and sit down and break the commandments of God, which is telling us, meet not with an harlot, lest thou fall into snares. What are those snares going to be? What if you get found out? You're going to lose your wife, your kids. A divorce most likely is going to be pending. Going to be put on child support, spousal support. You're going to have that snare upon you. What happens if a man don't pay child support? Nowadays, they'll throw you in prison.
Right.
Fall into that snare and the trap of meeting with the harlot. She might give you a disease. You might catch something. Fall into that snare. Find yourself winding up in the hospital, burning. Or give it to your wife. Meet not with an harlot, lest thou fall into her snares. Use not much the company of a woman that is a singer, lest thou be taken with her attempts. Our men need to learn to beware of these women that are trying to be like your Beyoncés, trying to be the Diana Rosses of the world, the Mariah Careys. There's something wrong with these women. Almost all of them have some kind of mental, I don't even know what to call it, mental irregularities. Just about all of them. And you got to teach our young women to stop idolizing these women, because when you look at these women, look at the kind of men that they're choosing to be with. Look at Beyonce. Look at who she chose. A man like Jay-Z. Just because he's rich? But look at what kind of man he is. She's finding out the hard way now that he's been cheating on her. He's been with all kinds of women behind her back. Look at Mariah Carey. Why would Mariah Carey, be with somebody like Nick Cannon? Take the money out of the way. If it wasn't for the money, why? Nick Cannon is one of those silly, foolish men that we were talking about earlier. One of those dumb comedians. Yeah, it's funny for a laugh on the big screen. But I'm sure that's probably why the relationship didn't last. Because the jokes got old. She finally woke up and realized, like, no, I need a man. I don't need a child around the house. I need somebody that's mature. But again, use not much the company of a woman that is a singer, lest thou be taken with her attempts. Go back and look at some of these women that were singers back in the day before they made it famous, and how they looked and how they were. Look at Mariah Carey. Go back and look at Whitney Houston. The short hair. She was stick skinny. She looked like your average, everyday Joe Schmo woman you would find, walking around the ghettos of any city in America. Before they took her and propped her up because of her singing voice, put extensions in her hair at the beginning of her music career. They put the blonde in her hair, lightened her skin so that she could appeal to people of all walks of life. Whitney Houston until it was too late, till after she died. That people started realizing that, oh, she was a lesbian. Oh, wow, she was a drug addict that bad. Even before she met Bobby Brown, she was already a cokehead. Like, you would have never known that because it was hidden. And, you know, it was hidden. Go back and look at, what's her name? Shaka Khan. Back in the day. Look at how she dressed. You wouldn't have never really known about how she was in her previous years, her younger years. If it wasn't for you, you're able to go back and look at how she dressed and how she carried herself and all the different men she slept with. Diana Ross was the same way. Go back and look at her before she made it big. She looked like every other little nappy-headed woman, girl running around, you know, the ghettos. Before the hair weaves. But go back and look at how many men she slept with. And the truth is just now coming out about her. Now you could say, oh, no wonder Michael Jackson made Dirty Diana. I didn't even know. I'm just finding out the truth. I didn't know Diana Ross slept with her father. And then turned around, was trying to mess with Michael when he grew up. Now I understand. Like, no wonder Michael made that song Dirty Diana. He got fed up and he probably had just finally found out the truth. His father probably finally took him to the side and said, boy, why you keep messing with her? Don't you know I had her too? So it kind of makes sense why Michael and his dad had that tension between the two of them. Because Diana Ross was with both of them. Use not much the company of a woman that is a singer, lest thou be taken with her attempts. Diana Ross had, in fact, was it Van Halen? It was one of these, was it Gene Simmons? It was one of these heavy metal singers that Diana Ross was messing with. That was also the catalyst for Michael making Dirty Diana. Hold on, let me look it up. Like, in what heavy metal singer did Diana Ross? Gene Simmons from Kiss. That's who it was. Gene Simmons from Kiss. But right here, what popped up, this list of Diana Ross's boyfriends and rumored exes include Warren Beatty, Gene Simmons, Richard Gere, Michael Jackson, Berry Gordy, with whom she had a daughter, Arne Naess Jr. She has a long list. Let me see. Oh, she messed around with John Voight, who is the father of Brad Pitt's ex-wife, Angelina Jolie. Diana Ross messed with her father for a while, John Voight. I'm telling you that the scriptures are telling the truth. That's why we've got to teach this to our young men so that they can learn to heed this stuff, heed these kind of women. It says, gaze not on a maid that thou fall not by those things that are precious in her. So what are we getting at with this, with these precepts? Women, look out for these men that have that lustful spirit on them. It says, give not thy soul unto harlots, that thou lose not thine inheritance. Because there are a lot of our young men that in society, they are taught to go by their lust. Look not around about thee in the streets of the city, neither wander thou in the solitary place thereof. That's that man that when he's out there in the streets, his eyes are just like, man, look at her. Oh,
Right.
man, look at that. You got to be aware of that kind of man. Turn away thine eye from a beautiful woman and look not upon another's beauty, for many have been deceived by the beauty of a woman. For herewith love is kindled as a fire. Sit not at all with another man's wife, nor sit down with her in thine arms, and spend not thy money with her at the wine, lest thine heart incline unto her, and so through thy desire thou fall into destruction. Broke that down in the other lesson already. You got to be aware of that kind of man that have no qualms with going and hanging out with another man's wife, in some cases even their best friends, let alone their enemies. Look at Tupac. He was so bold about it, he went and made a song. That's why I did you know what with your you know what. You fat you know what. That's what he said to him in the song. Anybody that heard Hit 'Em Up, made by Tupac, he was talking about sleeping with Biggie's wife. He made no qualms about it. But yet, women love Tupac. Women love that kind of man. Even though to this day, she still lies and denies that she did anything with Tupac. Right. But there are people in his entourage that keep saying she lying. I was there when she came to the hotel room. I was sitting right there when she walked through the door. But let her keep telling it after all these years. She keep lying and denying. Why? Because he's not here to defend himself. He's gone. All right, let's go to the book of Sirach, chapter 19 and verse 2. So we're going to probably have to leave some of this for next week because we're just about halfway through this lesson. There's about 23 pages of precepts and we're only on page 10 right now. Yeah, that's how these lessons go. That's why our lessons are so long, because we're giving you these precepts. So after a few more precepts, we're going to go ahead and shut it down. Go ahead and read what you got.
The book of Ecclesiasticus, chapter 19 and verse 2. Wine and women will make men of understanding to fall away, and he that cleaveth to harlot will become impudent.
Wine and women will make men of understanding to fall away. That's why you got to watch out for that strong drink and watch out for them women. And don't mix the two. Even you husbands, don't be sitting at the wine with other men's wives, especially women that are single if you're married men. Because even men of understanding, men of the Lord, have also been, knocked down for messing with women and wine, women in that strong drink. Women, look out for those men that drink, that love going to the club. Got to be aware of that, because you never know when that day will come that he could have a drink in the presence of another woman and she's drinking too, and one thing leads to another. It says, and he that cleaveth to harlots will become impudent. Let's look up that word impudent. I'm going to share my screen in a minute so you can have an understanding of what it means to be impudent. But going back to Diana Ross, that was one of the main reasons why Michael made Dirty Diana, because he wanted Diana Ross, but she kept running back to Gene Simmons. And that's why it was made into a rock song kind of thing, kind of have that heavy metal vibe to it. That was the reason why he made it. Impudent meaning. Let me come back. Let me share screen. So yeah, we're going to end this pretty soon because we keep going with it today. This end up being like a 8 hour lesson, which it most likely is going to be. We're going to break it up into 2 lessons, though. I'm
Right.
not going to have everybody sitting here for 8 hours going through this today. Share. Let me know when you can see it.
It's coming. There it is.
All right. All right. Impudent, not showing due respect for another person. Impertinent. Let's go to Merriam-Webster, because I know Merriam-Webster sometimes have more in-depth definitions. Impudent, because it says, he that cleaveth to harlots will become impudent, marked by contemptuous or cocky boldness or disregard of others, insolent, obsolete, lacking modesty. So a man that deals with harlots is somebody that's what, contemptuous, or they become cocky, they become bold, have complete disregard for others' feelings, like his wife's. He lacks
Mm-hmm.
modesty. All right, so they're arch, bold-faced, brassy, cheeky, fresh, nervy, wise, audacious, brash, brazen, cocksure, impertinent, sassy, bold, brass-bound, brazen face, cocky, insolent, saucy. So you want to be careful of when it comes to dealing with men or finding a husband. So again, Sirach 19:2, wine and women will make men of understanding to fall away, and he that cleaveth to harlots will become impudent. All right, let's go to the book of Sirach, chapter 41, and verses 17 through 24.
Mm.
So we're going to go through a few more precepts, and then we'll go over the list of personality traits that women should stay away from. We'll end it right there.
The book of Ecclesiasticus, chapter 41 and verse 17. Be ashamed of whoredom before father and mother, and of a lie
The
before a
scripture
prince.
says, be ashamed of whoredom before father and mother. Because some of these men, seriously, the way you see some of these men act, the way you see some of them talk or hear some of them talk, I'd be ashamed to act like that in front of my mother. Be a singer or a movie star for your mother to see you on TV acting like a fool, acting
Mm-hmm.
like an idiot. I'd be
Right.
ashamed of that. But some of these people, they got no shame. And the parents also, because you should be ashamed as a parent that your child is on TV acting the way some of these people act. But they're proud because they're a big movie star and they're rich and they've made a lot of money. It's crazy. Go ahead.
And of a lie before a prince and a mighty man, of an offense before a judge and ruler, of iniquity before a congregation and people, of unjust dealing before thy partner
So
and
these are
friend.
things that it's telling us to be ashamed of. Is this starting to slow down? I think it's lagging now. I think I keep interrupting you. But it says what it's telling us is these are things that we should be ashamed of. And one of them is saying, be ashamed of iniquity before a congregation and people. Because there are some of our people that are in these Christian churches, dealing with these Christian pastors and priests and ministers. And these men have no shame that they're in these churches committing all kinds of fornication and adultery and all kinds of evil in these churches. Go ahead, though.
And of theft in regards of the place where thou sojournest, and in regard of the truth of God and his covenant, and to learn with thine elbow upon the meat, and of scorning to give and take. and of silence before them that salute thee, and to look upon an harlot,
And to what?
and to look upon a harlot.
So you're supposed to be ashamed to even look upon a harlot. That's what it says. Verse 17, be ashamed of whoredom before father and mother, gives you a whole list. And part of this list of things to be ashamed of is to look upon a harlot. Read on.
And to turn away thy face from thy kinsman, or to take away a portion or a gift, or to gaze upon another man's wife,
Or to gaze upon another man's wife. Go ahead.
or to be over busy with his maid, and come not near her bed,
Or to be over busy with his maid and come not near her bed. Read.
or of upbraiding speeches before friends, and after thou hast given upbraid not, or of uh, iteratings, iterating,
Oh,
or of
or iterating, yeah, and
thank you,
speaking again.
or of iterating and speaking again that which thou hast heard, and of
So, in
revealing
other
of
words,
secrets.
being a whisperer that we talked about earlier, or of iterating and speaking again that which thou hast heard, and of revealing of secrets.
Mhm.
Watch out for that man that likes to gossip. We already know women like to gossip, but there are some men out there that are like these women. They love to gossip. Go ahead.
So shalt thou be truly shamefaced and find favor before all men.
All right. So basically, ladies, don't be with a man that has that spirit of lust on him. You know, that man whose eyes are constantly wandering and looking at every woman that walks by. You need to be aware of that. That one, you see that happen all the time in circles of friends. You have friends, you know, they got a husband and wife, another husband and wife, another, you know, these are friends. They like to get together. And then somehow, some way, one wife is cheating on her husband with her friend's husband, and the husband is cheating on his wife with the friend's wife. Somehow, it's like, how does that happen? Obviously, somebody's sitting there in the midst of them, you know, having gatherings and get togethers, and somehow, some way, they're oogling each other or something. Somehow it happens, and they end up messing around, and that causes all kind of problems when the truth comes out in the midst of friendships. So ladies, be aware of that stuff. Let's go to Sirach 23 and verse 4 through 6.
The book of Ecclesiasticus, chapter 23, and verse 4. O Lord, Father and God of my life, give me not a proud look, but turn away from thy servants always a haughty mind. Turn away from me vain hopes and concupiscence, and thou shalt hold him up that is desirous always to serve thee.
Desires.
Desirous always to serve thee. Let not the greediness of the belly nor lust of the flesh take hold of me, and give not over me thy servant into an impudent mind.
Let not the greediness of the belly nor the lust of the flesh take hold of me, and give not over me thy servant into an impudent mind. Be careful of that man that has that mind of concupiscence. Remember, the word concupiscence means what? Those deep, dark sexual desires. You should know if your husband or your man or the guy that you're talking to has it. You know what I mean? So, who is it? That kind of man that loves looking at porn? You need to be aware. Is your man that kind of man? What kind of deep, dark sexual desires does he have inside? Because there are those men that will ask their wife to do certain things in the bedroom to see if she's willing to do it. And if she is, then all is good. And, you know, marriage happy, you know what I mean? They're fulfilling each other's desires. But if she doesn't, is he the kind of man that's going to be okay with her? Is he going to start going looking for those harlots? to fulfill those deep, dark concupiscence or concupiscent desires that he might have. You got to be aware of that, because they're in. Look at some of these men that turn out to be like serial killers and stuff like that. You don't know. He's going out picking up on all kinds of different women. For all you know, he could be killing these women, committing murder. Look at that man that they just found in New York, that over a 40-year span, these women's bodies were being dumped in some meadow or something like that. And they've been trying to find this dude for years, and they finally just caught him. And he turned out to be just like any other Joe Schmo that you would run into on the street. You would have never guessed that this man was a serial killer. It says, let not the greediness of the belly nor lust of the flesh take hold of me, and give not over me thy servant into an impudent mind. We just looked up what the word impudent means. Let's go to Sirach 29 and 14.
The book of Ecclesiasticus, chapter 29 and verse 14. An honest man is surety for his neighbor, but he that is impudent will forsake him.
But he that is impudent will forsake him. Let's go back to that word impudent again. Let me share my screen again. Give me a second. We're going to go back to that word impudent, because it says an honest man is surety for his neighbor, but he that is impudent will forsake him. So it's telling you that a man that is impudent will forsake his friends. He'll forsake his neighbor. All right. What we read in Sirach 23 and 6, it is, give not over me thy servant into an impudent mind. Again, impudent means marked by contemptuous or cocky boldness or disregard of others. Can you see the screen?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Can you see it?
Yes. Yeah.
All right. So we're going to look at this word contemptuous. The word contemptuous. I'm going to click on it. Marked by contemptuous. What is contemptuous? Manifesting, feeling, or expressing deep hatred or disapproval. Feeling or showing contempt. So when it comes to dealing with that person that has an impudent mind, keep in mind that this is somebody that manifests feelings or express deep hatred or disapproval. All right. So that kind of person could at any time become very volatile. You need to be aware of that. You ladies, when you meet these men, again, the signs be right there in front of these ladies, but they choose to ignore it because they have the lust of the flesh on their mind, as we just read in Sirach 23 and 6. Let not the greediness of the belly nor lust of the flesh take hold of me. And that's exactly what the belly right here is talking about, your mind. Let not the greediness of the belly nor lust of the flesh take hold of me. Give not over thy servant into an imputed mind. That's one of the ways we know that the word belly sometimes is talking about the mind. There are other precepts that shows you that sometimes when the scriptures are talking about the belly, it's talking about the mind. So you cannot let greediness take over your mind. And that's what some of you ladies do when it comes to dealing with men. You start thinking about all the money he makes and all the good things he's going to be able to do for you, and just completely ignore the fact that this man is a wicked demon. He's ungodly. He hates God, don't want to have nothing to do with God. But you'll go on in a lot of cases into marrying the kind of man. All right. So what are the characteristics of the kind of man that our women should stay away from? We're at about the halfway mark of this lesson. So we're going to go over this list and then we'll end it right there. All right. Let me share screen. Well, and ladies can't stress enough to take heed to this list when it
Right.
comes to you dealing with a man and what to look for in a man that gives you a red flag that tells you to steer clear of this dude. Because the red flags, like we said, be right there in front of you. Just some of you choose to ignore it. Hey, what happened? There we go. Can you see it? Yeah,
Yes.
I can see it. All right. So, what are the characteristics of the kind of man to stay away from? Number one, the angry man, the arrogant man, brutal, callous, careless, childish, conceited, crazy, criminal, critical, because there are some of these men out there that will be so critical of their ladies, and the women don't even realize until it's too late that they found themselves in the grasp of this kind of man. Cruel, that kind of man also, that could say cruel things and do cruel things to people. If he's cruel to others, best believe he will be cruel to you. Deceitful. If they will be deceitful to others, they will be deceitful to you. Dishonest. If they were dishonest to you or to others, they'll be dishonest to you. Disloyal. Domineering. Watch out, because that's what we see a lot in the Israelite community. These domineering men that have duped these women into falling into this multiple wives doctrine, in that the man can basically do whatever he wants and the woman's just got to sit there and take it. These egocentric men, you see that a lot in the Israelite community. Some of these men are very egocentric. Envious. We talked about that a little bit. Foolish. Talked about a little bit. We're going to get more in depth in some of these later on in the lesson. Greedy. Hateful. Haughty. Ooh, this is the one that you really need. The ignorant man.
Right.
Impatient. Impulsive. Indecisive. Insecure. Insensitive. Insincere. Insulting. Intolerable. The irrational man. You need to stay clear of that dude. Just very irrational. Their mind is all over the place. Like the scripture says, double-minded man is, what is it? A double-minded man is unstable in all his ways. Stay away from that irrational man. They are unstable. Irresponsible. Stay away from the irresponsible man. That's the man that's got baby mamas all over the place. Can't keep a job. Got baby mama 1, baby mama 2, baby mama 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Always broke. Don't, can't provide for himself. Always want to drink, smoke weed. Always into something. Always very irresponsible in their decisions. This one too, irritable. Be aware of that irritable brother. Make sure you stay away from him. Lazy. We're going to deal with that one later on in the lesson. That lazy man. Malicious. Again, stay away from that malicious brother that just have a very angry, malicious, careless. You can't even, there's so many words you could put to it. Messy, miserable. You know how they say misery loves company? Watch out for that miserable man because he's going to make your life miserable. Misguided. Watch out for that man that's misguided. Moody. That goes to that irritable. Watch out for that moody man. Naive. Watch out for the naive dude. Rowdy. Watch out for the rowdy ones. Selfish. You really want to watch out for this kind of man that don't want to do nothing for anybody but himself. Everything's about him, and him. Watch out for that kind of dude. Silly. Talked about that earlier. Watch out for those silly, immature dudes. Stupid. There are some dudes out there that are just plain stupid.
Right.
And tactless. Watch out for those tactless people that don't know when the proper time to speak is. You want to be completely aware of that. Watch out for them. All right. So that's the list. You could go back into the video, look at it. We're at 3 hours and 56 minutes. Just take it back to about 3 hours or take it forward to about 3 hours and 56 minutes. And you can find it. I don't remember the timestamp where it's at for the other list that we have on here. We're about halfway through with this lesson. When we come back next Sabbath, we're going to continue on with other personality traits to really stay away from.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so we're going to go in depth with some of these personality traits that you women make sure that you take heed to it. Take notes and apply it to your life, especially those that are single women that are looking for a man. Stop just running after any old Pookie or Tukey that come along. Any old Ray Ray. Leave them alone. Leave them men alone. Don't deal with them. Don't meddle with them. All right. So we're going to go to Ecclesiastes 12 and 13 through 14.
All right. The book of Ecclesiastes, chapter 12 and verse 13. Let us hear the conclusion of the whole matter. Fear God and keep his commandments, for this is the whole duty of man. For God shall bring every work into judgment with every secret thing, whether it be good or whether it be evil.
So remember, ladies, look for that godly man. Look for that faithful man. Look for that man that's going to keep God's commandments. That's going to be one that's going to teach others the wisdom, knowledge, and understanding of the Most High. One that's going to keep the commandments and have the faith of Christ in him. And that list goes on and on and on. Stay away from, again, I'm going to use that word again, from the Pookies and Ray Rays. Stay clear of them, because that's a one-way ticket to become a baby mama.
Right.
Real quick. And we're tired of seeing our women end up in that position. All right. So with that, we're going to say shalom. We'll see you next Sabbath to finish up part 2 of this lesson. Shalom. Enjoy the rest of the Sabbath.